in the chat. That way I know that we are good. We're going to get right into the fun. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a lag now, but I think we fixed the problem. Chat. Are we on audio? Oh, I think the thing's muted. The mics? I'm not muted? Okay, cool. All right, we're back. We're back, guys. Welcome. Welcome. Holy crap, man. This goddamn technology is fucking me up, man. You guys enjoy that song? Early Life? You guys like that? I saw a couple of y'all were like, what the hell is this music? This shit is trash. And then y'all heard them lyrics and you guys knew what time it was. You guys knew every single time, man. So yeah. First thing I'm going to do is I want to introduce you guys to my man on the ones and twos. He's a very humble guy. Harvard grad, Chad.
Hello once again. Anyone who missed
so annoying. This is like the third time we've done this, right?
15th time, yeah.
We got to do it for the people that are going to catch us on the replay.
That's true. We got to do it for the replay people. Yeah, so I'm Chad. Like I said, he said the other thing, but very important to know that I'm on the APA, American Psychiatric Association, and the American Psychological Association. Member of both, which will come into play later. A member of a couple of caucuses on both, so we'll talk about that. Like I said, I'm here.
It's like you're here for the perfect episode, bro.
Yeah. It's
like this is very important that we have you here because you're going to be talking quite a bit about the APA, psychology, feminism, how it's come into the play because it's very relevant to what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go through the testimony, guys, of what went down today, and then we're going to talk about the red pill stuff with the psychology and psychiatry stuff, which we didn't get to talk about before, but we should be good now with sound and audio. I don't think we're going to get any lag problems, guys. We switched it up. We're just streaming on one thing right now. We should still be live on, I think we're live on Rumble, Fresh to Fit, but not live on Fresh to Fit on YouTube. I don't think I'm live on Fresh to Fit YouTube, unfortunately. But it's okay. I'll just put a community post right now and tell them to come on over. So, but we are live on Rumble for Fresh to Fit. So, let's see here. I'll just do a community post for these guys. So, anyway. Chad, do you mind doing me a quick solid and kind of going through the testimony for the agent that I missed in the morning, and we're going to speed through the agent's testimony. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You take it away.
So, basically with that dude, that was pretty crazy.
Special Agent Gannon from HSI
Gannon.
Miami, guys, actually, my old stopping grounds.
Yeah, Special Agent Gannon was a trip. Basically what they tried to do, so they showed that they were the red heels from yesterday, the red heels. They used that to establish the fact that there were heels next to the Gucci bag, which had drug paraphernalia in it and drugs. They also zoomed in on, I didn't mention this earlier, they tried to hone in on the fact that there are Balenciaga boots. The Balenciaga boots had 3 cell phones in them. We didn't really get any significance of the 3 cell phones. Maybe that'll come into play later. But they did that during the direct, and then the defense team, what they tried to do was establish some sort of tampering. So they tried to see if they tried to bring into question the validity of the photos that were taken, saying that, yeah, you had stuff here earlier. There was stuff here earlier, like there were 12 boxes of shoes, let's say, and now there are none there, but there's no before picture. But the picture that we have from before shows that there were that many pair of shoes there. So what happened to that? Did you fix this evidence, tamper with this evidence? Things like that. They didn't say those words exactly, not verbatim, but they were alluding to the fact that maybe the evidence was tampered with. A standard issue play. It didn't really seem like there was anything to it. They were just trying to throw something out there because they had to say something, it seemed like. And then they also talked about whether or not they kind of insinuated the fact that he may have kind of sort of had something to do with the gun serial numbers being scratched off. Obviously, he didn't. We all know that. But they said that you could have swabbed for DNA, that you could have dusted for fingerprints. Why didn't you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you have to look for serial numbers? Like, little dumb nonsense. There is one thing that I forgot to mention, though, earlier. The one of the biggest things they did talk about, and I should have said this earlier, they were saying how the guns and the gun and the ammunition that was found that were brought up, like the .45 caliber ammunition and .45 caliber weapon, they were saying that was in the security corridor of the house. So, a felon is not allowed to have firearms. However, a security team or a person that's not a felon is allowed to have firearms, and then the secure area of the house where the security would be stationed at would have the right to defend themselves, being on depending on the jurisdiction and the location, stuff like that. So they tried to bring little things into play. Nothing really was shaking out, and then Gannon kind of just got off there. And
They're saying you're a little low.
Oh, low.
Maybe turn up your mic. Yeah.
See if I can turn this up a little bit. All right. Yeah, that should be. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. So that should be better. All right. So yeah. So they tried to bring that into question, and then to finish it off, he said, the defense attorney said, "Do you have guns?" And he said, "Yeah, And he tried to be funny with that, saying that he had guns, and I guess trying to show that everyone protects themselves down there because you're allowed to protect yourself with weapons down there. And, they tried to leave it off like that. It's kind of, it was loose testimony. It wasn't anything crazy. The psychologist was a lot more in depth.
Bam. And I also want to note, guys, thanks, bro. For some odd reason, I don't know why we're not up on Rumble. I don't know what's going on here. Because we checked the boxes, right? So weird. All right. Well, huh? Yeah. He's using the Harvard verse. The other thing also, guys, that's important to note with this guy's been on the job for 5 years. You know what I think, bro? All the agents that are on this case that have been like assigned case agents or whatever, the guy out of New York that's running it, Sean Quinn, the agent Vinda out of New York that ran the search warrant in the hotel, and then the agent that ran out of Miami, Gannon, they all have 5 years. What I predict is all of them went to the same academy class. They probably knew each other, and they said, hey, I'm going to send this collateral to this guy because I know him. Mm-hmm. So they probably were all there at the academy at the same time, since they all pretty much have 5 years on. Yeah. And the other thing I will say, guys, if an agent says they got 5 years on, a lot of the times, remember, about 1 to 2 years of that is going to be waiting to go to the academy and then the academy itself. So realistically, I would say they probably only have about 3 years of investigative experience. This guy was a U.S. Marshal before, but the thing is with U.S. Marshals, they don't execute search warrants, and they're not Afghans. They don't really do investigations. So these 3 agencies right here are the 3 most overrated agencies, okay? So number 1, Secret Service. People think Secret Service is cool. It's really not. You're guarding garbage cans. The protection details aren't as good as you think they are. You're not going to be protecting the president, and even if you do, that's going to suck. You're standing outside of a door 8-10 hours. Great job if you're single. Great job if you want to make a lot of overtime, because they make quite a bit of overtime. But you don't get to do investigations that much. They have a ridiculous attrition rate. They're the number 1 most divorced agency. So if you're married, being a Secret Service agent is only going to hurt your relationship more than likely and lead to you getting divorced. Okay? Next one. Can I get a side angle here, Jed? We got multiple camera angles for you ninjas too, by the way. Right here.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
It's not switching? It's not? No, the other one.
Yeah, no, it's not switching to the last one.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
The other one that sucks, guys, is the Marshal Service. Now, a lot of people don't know this when it comes to the Marshals. The Marshals have 3 main jobs, okay? They got courtroom security, fugitive operations, and fugitive operations, courtroom security, and witness protection. Witness protection, very few of them actually engage that because, it doesn't come off and it's very hard to get witness protection. The courtroom security is what you're most likely going to do quite a bit. And then the fugitive stuff, typically that goes to senior guys or the most productive guys, and it's on rotation. So if you're a newer guy, you'll probably get in there for 6 months. Then they rotate you back into courtroom security. And then witness protection, they almost never do that because it's so hard to get. So with the Marshals, guys, not as sexy as you guys think it is. You got something, Chad, you want to say?
No.
Oh, okay. And then the last agency is going to be DSS. This agency, a lot of people think it's great, but the reality is it's basically Secret Service, but abroad, and you're protecting, the Secretary of State, of course, when he travels, but foreign dignitaries and all that other stuff. So not as fun of an agency as you think it would be. But I would say those are the 3 most overrated agencies by far. So what else here? Okay, let's get into our girls' testimony, right? We covered Gannon, and we covered how they try to beat him up on. Basically, they didn't do a good job of taking pictures of stuff in place, which, again, I explained that before. A lot of the times you won't be able to take pictures of evidence in place because you moved it from a specific area so that you can actually actively search it with light, right? Let's say you pull a box out of a closet. You pull it out the closet, you open it up, and then you find gun parts in there. Well, it's going to be very weird for you to put that box back up there and then get on a fucking ladder and then take a picture of it in place. Doesn't make sense. So a lot of times you're going to move it somewhere and do your best to take a picture of it in place when you find it. That's what's important, when you find it. So, of course, the defense's job is to sit there and, try to hurt your credibility or whatever. The other thing that I thought was interesting too, Chad, was he only had 5 years. He only did 5 search warrants.
Yeah. That was a big thing.
That's crazy, bro.
And then he even got tripped up on that because when they said the 5, she asked him, she was like, so you executed like 5 or whatever it may be?
Yep.
And then he was like, well, I kind of,
yeah, I think this is my 5th one.
This is my 5th one, I think.
He's been on the job 5 years, he says. Let's say 4. He's been on the job. I mean, granted, when I was on the Southwest border, I was doing search warrants like fucking all the time. But, yeah, man, it just goes to, it's crazy to me that like I'm watching the trial, right? And I'm like, oh, God damn, you guys are fucking up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, I wanted to answer the questions for him on the stand. When she's saying stupid shit like, oh, you had a special response team go in there? Like, why'd they knock the gate down? They made a big stink about them knocking a gate down,
huge.
Because they went in and they crashed the gate and they destroyed it. Why do you need to do that? This is what I would have said. For tactical reasons, they need to get in extremely quickly and clear the house as fast as possible. Because whenever you're dealing with search warrants, you don't want to allow any potential suspects that are in the home to arm themselves, destroy evidence, or create other types of problems, or barricade themselves, worse yet. So that is why when they come in, they have to come in quickly, aggressively, and swiftly clear the home. That's how our SWAT team operates. That's what I would say. Like, it's very simple. It's from a tactical perspective. It has nothing to do with legality. It has nothing to do with evidence. They're going in, and it's their house for that part of the raid. There's 2 parts. SRT comes in, they do the raid, they clear the house. Once they clear the house, they give possession of the home to us, and then we actually search it. That's what I would have said on the testimony, right? And I would have said, if you have a problem with the way that the SRT conducted the search, feel free to call one of them to testify, and they can explain to you tactically why they do what they do. Done. You know what I mean? But, he's over here like, It's very simple, man. It's like, this is tactics. This is a tactical strategy. This is not legality, none of that stuff. They're going in quickly, and they're coming in from other ends. The defense also tried to say, why did they come in from a boat and from the front with the gate? Because they also didn't like how they came in on the dock. Diddy has a dock at his house, guys. He's on the water. So I'm pretty sure it's probably CBP Air Office of Air and Marine, AMO. They probably came in through the boat side, and then SRT hit the front, and then they collapsed on the house from both sides. And that makes perfect sense to do that. And that's what I would have just been like, yo, they're running it from a tactical perspective to get in the home as quickly as possible, clear the home, and then we come in after the fact to search and actually collect evidence. They're not there to do anything from an investigative standpoint. They're there to make the house safe and clear for us so that we can come in and do our jobs. Boom. That's it. And if you have questions on tactics, feel free to subpoena one of them to come here and answer your questions. That's what I would have said. Sometimes you got to tell these defense attorneys to fuck off. Because I've been cross-examined by them a million times. And I've talked to them. Their job is to try to make you look bad on the stand. That's their job. Or the other thing with the forensic fingerprint stuff. Because they try to beat them up. Guys, so they found upper and lower receivers of the AR-15s in the house. And they were trying to beat them up like, hey, why didn't you fingerprint it or whatever? Right?
Yep.
Or because they try to say, so you didn't do fingerprint analysis, whatever? I would have answered like this. Well, that's not my expertise. I can give it to an agent to do fingerprint analysis, but it was found in his home. And no one else, to my knowledge, has access to that room except for him. It was in his bedroom. We could do fingerprint analysis, but that's not my expertise. I'd have to submit it to a lab. So, that's how you deal with these fucking idiots, man. But anyway, I get it though. He just, he's a newer agent, so it's probably it's probably one of the first times he's probably ever testified.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So, anyway, okay. So the main witness for today, guys, was a woman named Dawn Hughes. Okay. She's a psychiatrist / psychologist. Do you have any other background on this chick besides I don't know if you had looked at her before the trial or after the trial?
I looked at her a little bit after the trial. I mean, she's a psychologist. That's it. Just a psychologist. She's board certified psychologist. Can you explain that real quick to them? Because that is her claim to fame. There's only 40 of them in New York City, which is why they called her. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, because
what is the difference between that and like another psychologist?
you don't have to become board certified in order to become a psychologist. So board certified means you went the extra step and then you did some sort of something akin to residency for medical students.
Mm-hmm.
You did something akin to that to get this high level of certification, so to speak. So that's why she's lauded. She's trying to seem like she's lauded for that. I mean, it's a big deal, relatively speaking. But outside of that, no, she's she has a lot of accomplishments as far as papers submitted. However, the papers that she submit doesn't mean that the papers that she submit are substantial to the growth of the field of psychology. So they threw a lot of word salad out there, pretty much, to try and set some sort of validity to her person.
Gotcha. Okay. Guys, I don't know why Rumble is not working. I don't know why. We're live on YouTube. And let me see if we're live on Fresh and Fit. I think we're live on Fresh and Fit Rumble as well right now. Let me see if it's... No, it's not. So it's not working on Fresh and Fit. It's only working on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube it's working and it's not working anywhere else, which is really fucking weird. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, on X we're live, right? X we're fine. So fucking weird, dude. Locals, I think we're good too. It is? How? We're using Rumble Studio. How's that happening when we got Rumble Studio going? Doesn't make sense, bro. So fucking weird, man.
Yeah, this is I never set anything up like this. This is a new setup for me. Yeah, so I didn't touch anything. But
yeah, YouTube's only working right now.
Yeah.
Nothing else is working. That's so fucking annoying. All right. Well, it is what it is. I'll tell the guys on Rumble to come on over and all right, we'll just keep the show goes on. Sorry guys, I don't know what it is, why it's acting like that. I'm literally using Rumble Studio and it should be working and it's not. You figured it out? Permissions?
Yeah. Hold on.
All right. Should I keep rocking or wait? Okay. Shout out to Chad in the back. All right. So the next witness, guys, that came after Special Agent Gannon from HSI was witness Dawn Hughes, a.k.a. Dr. Hughes, okay? Clinical and forensic psychology. She has a bachelor's from Hamilton, got her doctorate from Nova Southeastern, did her residency at Yale. Currently independently practicing in New York. She works 2.5 days a week. She's also involved in Cornell as a voluntary perspective. She specializes in interpersonal violence and trauma. And she also went ahead and explained PTSD. She spent 30 years dealing with PTSD and thousands of victims, spent 20 minutes going over her qualifications alone. The USA did. So they spent a significant amount of time going over her background. She testified as something called an SME, guys, a.k.a. subject matter expert. When you testify as a subject matter expert, you come in and you testify and you talk about certain things. Like, I'll give you an example. I've testified before as a subject matter expert for human smuggling. And what
explain
you do
what
is
human
you come
smuggling
in,
is to the
you
to
kind
the
of
jury,
explain what human smuggling is
to the audience.
to the jury.
You explain how it happens, how the money happens.
It's
You
kind of like,
explain how
remember
it
how I
happens,
gave
how
my
the money
talk,
happens.
guys, kind of like, remember how I gave my talk, guys,
on human smuggling and how it's an illicit or
human
it's
smuggling
all illegal immigration typically comes from human smuggling. That's basically what you are when you're a subject matter expert and you talk about things.
That's basically what you are when you're a subject matter expert and you talk about things. So
they told the AUSA, this is on direct examination from the government. So she says she doesn't have personal info on the case. She did not study the case. She's not aware of the case. Her role is to provide blind testimony. And blind testimony, guys, is basically where
her role is to provide
blind testimony. And blind testimony, guys, is basically where you are providing information as an expert in a subject without understanding or knowing the facts of the case that you're testifying on. Because you're supposed to come in as an objective expert and you provide the information and then that allows the jury, the defense, and the prosecution to better understand the problem here. So in this case, we got a psychologist coming in and talking about domestic violence and trauma. That was what she specializes in, okay? Focus on not getting hit more than actually leaving the relationship. Victims do is what she was saying. How can psychological abuse make people stay in relationships? Basically, what she was saying is it's a proverbial walking on eggshells feeling. And that's why it's hard for them to leave the situation. Is dropping frames again? Even on Rumble Studio? Damn it. God damn it. What's the speed test? Wasn't it like 200 just a second ago? It's back up now? Guys, this has nothing to do, by the way, just so you guys know, this has nothing to do with Chad, man. This is just an internet thing. The internet's just fucking up.
Yeah, I can't control the internet.
Yeah, you can't control the internet, bro. We're on Wi-Fi, man.
Yeah, no more drop frames. But
I lagged for all of that. God damn it.
Yeah, this is the internet. I don't know what's going on with it. It's randomly dropping frames and then randomly.
I'm gonna have to just pre-record it, bro.
Yeah.
That might be the move. What do you think?
That might be pre-record might be the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. Yeah, the internet here sucks. The internet here sucks, bro. The internet sucks. Guys, this has nothing to do with Chad whatsoever. This is strictly an internet problem. This is strictly an internet problem. God damn it, man. You get what? Auto jump?
Could be the storm. Uh-huh. It's so weird, bro.
There's no fan.
What are these niggas hearing?
I don't know. It's kind of like that phantom shit you heard earlier. I don't know. Turn off the fan.
No, it's not that there's no audio, guys. I'm just not talking because I'm so fucking pissed off that this shit isn't working. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, that's strange. That's strange.
I'm thinking we pre-record this shit, bro.
The delay seems by like a minute and a half.
Minute and a half delay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cooked, man.
Because it'll not drop frames, and it'll be cool for a while, and then it'll drop frames. Then it'll be cool for a long time, then it'll drop frames.
Yeah, it's just not consistent enough, man. There's a storm in Jersey, guys. You know why the Rumble stream probably won't start? Because it's so slow.
Yeah, it is.
That's probably what it is. All right. Fuck it, man. We'll end it and we'll pre-record this shit.
Copy.
Goddamn. All right, chat. We're gonna pre-record this shit and drop it for y'all. Audio back. Now it's good? Bruh. Yeah, guys, this is Academic Studio. Internet's cooked, bro. I don't know what it is, man. Yeah, they're way behind. They're way behind.
Well, hold on. We don't have. All right, hold on.
It's just really bad here, bro.
Should be. Yeah, you're synced now.
They're on Wi-Fi.
You should be synced now.
Synced up or what?
You should be synced up. You're.
One black screen.
Yep, and then you should be synced up right after that.
Let's see here. Yeah, damn. Okay, guys, give me O/ in the chat if we're good, and we're gonna get into the testimony from the first person. Give me O/. If I see O/ here pretty quickly, then I'll keep going. And then what I'll do, bro, is I'm just gonna cut that whole part out.
Copy.
The stream. And I'll repost this shit on other platforms. All right, I see O/.
Yeah, my boy Evan said you good.
All right. All right, we're back. If it fucks up again, I'll just pre-record it. And then what I'll do is I'll edit this video after, and I'll like chop out that bullshit. Okay, how long are we? We're what, about 34 minutes in right now. Okay. Yeah, chat. Sorry, man. Guys, there's a storm going on in New Jersey. You know, it's cold as hell. So I got my vest and my hoodie on. And I was still freezing. So it's just absolutely wild. All right, let's go into this witness. Her name is Dawn Hughes, okay? Clinical and forensic psychology. Bachelor's from Hamilton. She went to Southeastern, Nova. Did her residency at Yale. She is a volunteer over at Cornell, right?
Volunteer at Cornell, yep.
She has 30 years of experience. She's worked with thousands of victims, according to her. We spent about 30 minutes just going over her qualifications, guys. So, obviously, quite a bit of background. She doesn't have personal info on the case. She was not allowed to talk to any witnesses. Her role is to provide blind testimony as a subject matter expert, a.k.a. an SME, subject matter expert. And basically, she would talk about why people stay in domestic violence relationships despite the abuse. And the prosecution asked her, how much are you being paid to be here? $600 per hour and $6,000 just for the day, guys. You heard that right. $600 per hour, $6,000 for the day. And I think she was on the stand for roughly 2 hours. So what? She walked away with like $7,200 or something like that.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money, you know. And as you guys are going to see, the defense came in later and definitely attacked her on that. So they asked her, is it common for victims to stay in abusive relationships? She said yes. And then, okay. Also, you guys could thank Chad because Chad fixed everything for y'all. Also, she talked about what makes it harder for people to leave. Basically, number one, not just because they're just getting hit. Number two, they almost always love the abuser. And then number three, psychological consequences. And then she said that it's not just about getting beat. The abusers also have other tools that they use to keep the person from leaving in the abusive relationship. And then she says sexual abuse. So they asked her about, can sexual abuse keep them to stay? She said, yes, it's one of the highest forms of PTSD. They get humiliated, shame, and they don't want to get outside help in the relationship because of the shame from sexual abuse. Then, basically, the partner gets their self-esteem lowered. That leads to depression, and then that prevents them from also coming forward and trying to get help. And then she also mentioned financial dependence, the tangible resources to leave, make it harder to leave because you don't have the tangible resources to leave, and the person that's abusing you has those resources. And then she also mentioned trauma bonding. Someone basically needs a partner, and they get a strong bond. It makes it harder to leave. She gave the analogy of a slot machine, right? You know, when you play on a slot machine, you lose often, but that one time you win, you get that really good high. That's the good parts that you have with your partner. Yeah. And that's the analogy that she gave, where it's like, it's almost like when you have this abuser boyfriend or partner or girlfriend. See, look, now I'm even getting biased from listening to her testimony. Basically, when you have this abuser or partner, you're cranking that slot machine and you're hoping that you win. And if you win, it feels awesome. It's big. And you're honestly playing to keep getting that high from there. And that's what ends up happening with these people.
She was talking about, by the way, the dopaminergic release. That's what she basically was alluding to, the fact that your dopamine, your receptors they like that feeling. So it's going to keep you coming back for that feeling because you get the high, the rush, similar to people with ADHD who take a lot of risk. Something similar to that.
Gambling.
Yep.
And then she talked about love bombing. It's basically the honeymoon phase where the abuser showers them with gifts and praise
and shows them a lot of love. And typically it's to keep them to stay. That's like the clinical, I guess.
Yeah, they call that love bombing now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy, bro?
Yeah, it's.
And then coping mechanisms. She tried saying coping mechanisms are trying to talk to family and friends, trying to talk to your partner, counseling, and then fighting back. And she gave the different types of defense. There's active and passive self-defense. Passive self-defense is protecting oneself, blocking punches, going in a fetal position, curling. Active defense is punching back, hitting back, yelling back, standing up for yourself. And she was saying how this typically hurts them more because in a female-male heterosexual relationship, the woman is weaker and the man might retaliate with more force, which might end up hurting her.
Which is crazy because you know what's really crazy about that?
Yeah.
It's only coming from the female perspective.
Yes.
So she
made sure to make that.
Only outlined it from the female perspective. She was like, well, the males are going to be stronger. It's like, but you didn't designate or specify whether or not we were talking about a male or female. So you have now an inherent bias. So I called that earlier, and when she did it, I was like, hit that shit on the nose, man.
Yep. And then she gave avoidance, where people avoiding the person. Then she talked about minimization, which is like, oh, it's not that bad that he punched me in the face. He only does this once a week. So minimization is something that she talked about. People also have disassociation, where you don't feel like you're there. You're, something is bad is happening to you, and you might like focus on something else, right? To stay away from those negative thoughts. And also drug use happens with that as well. You've heard the phrase, oh, it's like my soul left my body when the abuse was happening. That's kind of what disassociation is, and it makes it harder to remember things. And then they said, how common is it for victims to discuss abuse is happening? Okay, like delayed. How long does it take typically for them to finally come out? She said days, months, or years.
Yeah.
Delayed, abuse. And then she talked about victim cases, first disclosure. On the first disclosure, when they meet with a psychologist, I guess in this case it'd be a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, psychologist.
Yeah, okay.
For her, yeah.
Or a therapist or whatever. She said that they never tell the full story the first time. They piecemeal it. Like, you have to have multiple meetings to get the full story. Let's see here. And then impact of trauma on memory. She said trauma impacts memory. Neurobiology of stress makes it harder to remember, but whatever is associated with significance gets remembered. She gave the example of like maybe if someone's abusing you and you remember the perpetrator's always has alcohol in his breath, right? Or you're looking at the drapes as something bad is happening to you and you're focusing on that to kind of take away from what you're dealing with. That's what the victim a lot of the times will remember. And this is common a lot of times. Like if a woman's like assaulted, like she'll remember like, oh, he smelled really bad.
Yep.
Right? So she was mentioning that. And then abusive, if it's frequent, they can't recall all of it, and the events start to blend together. So if they're frequently getting abused, they can't remember all of it because it starts to like almost come all together like one thing. So cross-examination comes in now, right? This is the funny part.
Yeah.
So cross-examination comes in. And before I get into this cross-examination thing, let me make sure that that everything is good. Chat, give me O/. Is everything good now? Is it all good now, chat? Give me O/ in the chat if it's good. And also like the video, guys. We're over here fucking third time trying now. Man, I'm so pissed, dude. I can't wait to get back to Miami, man. Makes me appreciate my setup so much more, dude.
Yeah, your setup is nuts.
Yeah, man. I'm over here streaming in 4K. Now I'm down here streaming in 720. I can't even fucking... Bruh. I appreciate my setup so much more, man. Okay. And I'm definitely going to edit this video after and clean up some shit. Okay. Anyway, so now the defense comes in on cross-examination, okay? So she's been practicing since 1997, so she's been 30 years in here. Bro, the attorney was hilarious. He said, so you were practicing psychology since the 20th century.
Yeah, yo, when he said that, I was bugged out, son, because everyone started laughing.
Yeah.
Because when he said that, he was like, because she was like, I don't want to date myself. And he was like, well, yeah, you've been practicing for quite some time. I could go for it. Yeah, so it's I'll say the 20th century, and then he had
when he said that she's been practicing since the 20th century, I was like, what the fuck, bro?
And then he withdrew it, which made it even worse because he withdrew it on some passive aggressive shit. He was like, nah, I don't, because they were like objection. He was like, I'll withdraw. I'll withdraw that. That shit was funny.
That was funny, bro. That was actually funny. Okay. So he asked her, hey, when you interview these people, you clearly pay attention to detail. And she said, yeah. And they said, well, you can't diagnose someone without talking to them, right? And she was like, yes. And they said, so you do clinical and forensic work? She said, yes. For the forensic, people might have certain motivations to, talk to you when it comes to forensic, psychology. And she said yes, and she agreed. You have something, Chad?
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah,
okay.
What he was saying.
And then people might have certain motivations since it's legal, so she has to do a bit more of be skeptical, right? So when she's talking to people normally, right, it's not that big a deal. She's trying to help them and talk to them, hear their stories out, whatever. But when it's forensic, well, now they might have motivations to lie, and this is where the term malingering came in. You want to define malingering real quick?
So basically, malingering is someone falsifying emotions or feelings in order to get a result, or during psychological evaluation or something like that. So they'll say like they'll falsify a feeling or an emotion they're having, so you empathize with them and get on their level. So that's essentially what it is, like a breakdown, surface level breakdown.
So, and they were saying that malingering is far more common when the forensic psychology is being done, right?
Right, yeah.
Let's see here, what else? And then there's a built-in validity scale. So, she was saying that she has there is a built-in validity scale with some of these tests that they employ to avoid the malingering, right? Yeah. Because I'll give you guys an example. When someone's being assessed for are they insane enough to stand trial, what they'll do is they'll pretend to be insane, so they can be found, innocent as they'll be found insane as a self-defense, and they don't go to prison for life. So that's an example where people might, practice some malingering so they can avoid consequences of their crimes. So then they brought up that she did a webinar in 2015, and this webinar in 2015 was of much contest. They actually had a couple of sidebars on it, and guys, the sidebar is basically where all the attorneys meet on the side with the judge to discuss it. The defense wanted to bring in her entire webinar in as evidence. The judge didn't want to do it. The prosecution obviously objected to this, and the judge said, well, look, we won't bring the whole thing in, but you can ask her questions about it, and if needed, then you can show parts of it as needed to the jury. So she had this webinar that she did in 2015 with another woman where they taught people how to testify in court. Okay, so the angle they started to show here is like, yo, you're just a professional testifier for the government, right? And they asked her, where does a majority of your they said, well, a majority of your income comes from testifying as an expert witness, doesn't it? And she said, no, that's not true. And they're like, well, really? What percentage comes from it then? She was like 60%. And they're like, well, that would mean it's the majority. 60 is higher than 50. And she was like, okay, blah, blah. So that was kind of funny when they caught her there. And remember, guys, how I told you guys that she only works about 2.5 days a week? Bam. So she only sees patients for 2.5 days a week. But the other days of the week, what is she doing? She's testifying as a legal expert. And she gets paid quite a bit of money, bro. Quite a bit. What do you think she makes off testifying, bro?
Of testifying?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think when you did it, probably about...
There's some on camera.
Maybe, man.
Just off testifying. Not seeing patients.
It's got to be at least $200,000 a year.
You think $200,000 a year?
Yeah, at minimum.
At minimum?
At minimum, yeah.
Shit.
That's all she's doing is testifying. I mean, she's charging $6,000 a day, and she said her rate is commensurate with the current going rates at the time. So if you adjust for the fluctuation in rates over the past couple of years where they were getting...
And she said she hasn't changed her rate in a few years.
In a few years, that's what I was going to say. So, yeah, that's at least $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just off testifying.
Just off testifying, right?
Or even offering help, which you'll get into, offering help to the prosecution or the defense, and then testifying lightly, even.
Oh, okay. So thank you for bringing that up. So the next thing they beat her up on, guys, and I'll tell you guys this was a really good cross-examination. The prosecution had to call for sidebar, 3 times?
I think they called for sidebar 3 times. Or
it was 3 times. I had to count.
So once the defense started cross-examining her, they called for sidebar 3 times, chat. So basically they said, hey, they cornered her on 60% of her income comes from testifying as a witness. And then they said back in the 20th century, she wrote books and articles. They made fun of her again on that. She hasn't written an article in 25 years, so she doesn't do scholarly articles anymore. And she does mostly testifying. Can you talk about a bit about that on the scholarly articles and like why that's important in the psychology world or psychiatry world?
Yeah. So you need scholarly articles to not only contribute to the world of psychology or psychiatry, but in this case, let's just focus on psychology. But you have to do articles in order to show your competency level, so to speak. And some people do continuing education courses and things like that, but to show competency and for certain certain accomplishments, achievements, and for certain like board certification, things like that. So she was contributing scholarly articles. Here's the thing, though. Some people submit articles just because they have to submit them. Some people submit articles because they're required. Some people submit.
And she did a lot when she was doing her PhD.
She did it a lot for her PhD. Some people do it to change the world, though.
Yeah.
You know, so they tried to frame it as she was a world changer, but she was really just submitting these because she had to do it pre-dissertation and post-dissertation.
Yeah, to get her doctorate.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then they retained she's been retained hundreds of times as a subject matter expert. So the defense was asking her, how many times have you been retained as an SME? She said hundreds of times. And then this was like a death shot. They said, you've never come in to testify on the behalf of men. And then she responded, I don't speak on offenders.
Bro, that shit had me weak.
Bro, did they call a sidebar after that one?
No, it got quiet, remember?
Oh, yes.
It
It got quiet. Nobody said anything for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought it was a damn near sidebar.
Our side,
yeah.
And in the courtroom, on the defense, everyone quiet.
Yep.
Security guards quiet.
I'm gonna say that again for y'all. So this lawyer that cross-examined her did a really good job. He goes, in all the times that because she said, I've been retained hundreds of times and I've testified hundreds of times. And he said, is it not true in all the times that you came and testified that you've never come to testify on the behalf of a man or a male defendant? And she said, I don't speak on offenders. Bro, mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Because when she was giving her testimony, chat, also something else. Can you talk about that real quick, chat, about how she always referred everything from the dynamic. She referred to all the victims as she when she was speaking. Even when she was testifying, it's like she subconsciously kept saying she as the victim.
Yeah, I actually wrote that in my notes. I was speaking to Myron about it as we were sitting down before we even got to this point. She only referred to the victims as she, or the people that could possibly be affected by abuse as she. So to be like, and she would be scared, and she would have to get into fetal position, and she would guard herself some punches, and she would feel compelled to fight back. But there was this one time where she really messed up doing that. And what she did was she said, like, one of the things that a woman in distress would have to do would be to, well, you know, she would have to stop from her laptop being taken away, which
and then they immediately objected to that.
Right.
Because it came with the financial, the tangible, the economic abuse. Because she talked about economic and financial abuse, and she said the reason why people don't leave or women don't leave is because when they get economically or financially abused, they get their laptops taken away or whatever. And when she said that, the defense objected, obviously, because in this case, they made the allegation that Diddy took her laptops away and shit like that.
Yeah,
right? Or he took her things away. But it's interesting because the iPad and the laptops and everything else like that, who did it come from? It came from Cassie.
Right.
All the freak out videos came from Cassie. So, but anyway, the defense objected to that. So then they went over, then they said that you went over questions and answers with the government 6 times. So for her trial prep, guys, the government met with her 6 times. And then some of the meetings were after the trial started. Okay? So they had her come in and be prepped after the trial started, and they met with her 6 times. Now, here is the key point, chat. She was supposed to not know the facts of the case. So the defense was like, if you're only coming in here to testify as a subject matter expert, right, and you're not going to be privy to the case or to the victims or the circumstances, you're coming in as a blind witness, why the fuck did the government meet with you 6 times? Which is a good question. That is a good question. I mean, what do you think, chat? Like, why the fuck would you come in 6 times?
So from what I thought, I'm not even gonna lie.
Let's take her side here. Let's play devil's advocate.
Let's do that.
Why the fuck would she come 6 times to meet with the government on this? Oh, another thing before you answer this.
Yeah.
The other thing. She some of the meetings were after the trial started. 6 to 8 meetings with the lawyers. He asked that. And then they said, did you help them write them their did you help them write their briefs? That's when the objection, we need a sidebar.
Yeah.
The AUSA said that because that kind of put them in a bad spot. Because first he says, okay, you're coming in as a blind witness. You don't know any of the facts and circumstances on the case. You're just coming in to testify on domestic violence. Cool. And you're being paid to do so. Cool. Why did you meet with the government 6 to 8 times? Right? If you're coming in only to testify as a subject matter expert. That doesn't make sense. Then they said, did you help them write their briefs? And then the AUSAs were like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? And then they said the government made drafts of the subject matter of her testimony. But again, the meeting the 6 to 8 times, and then they made the accusation, or they insinuated with their line of questioning that the this woman, the Dr. Hughes, helped the AUSAs with writing the briefs. And the other thing also that they got her on was because she said that she comes in and she educates the AUSAs on the subject matter.
Yep.
So that's why they said, well, did you help them write their briefs since you are coming in to educate them on the subject matter? So she almost put herself in a corner by doing this. And can you explain to them real quick what a brief is and the other stuff that you want to say from before? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to say was
6 to 8 times.
It's really funny because he said, so you needed to come 6 to 8 times to educate them? Like, that shit was funny. The attorney was kind of roasting her. But, yeah, so she was – basically what we found out was that she was helping prep their attack, their strategy.
Yeah.
And she was giving them psychological tricks, profiles. This is what they're insinuating at least.
And
terms, so that when they have someone on the stand, a witness on the stand, they can use certain terminology to eschew your view. And to make you kind of fall in line and fall in empathy, or the jurors fall in line and fall in empathy with the case, as far as, the court of public opinion. But, this isn't like televised case. The point is that she was doing this so that she could sway the opinions of the jurors, and they're really going for tugging the heartstrings, invoking a sense of shock, a sense of fear, and like extreme empathetic response. And so but she was doing this ahead of time and after the trial started, which means the defense announced what they were trying to do, what they were trying to establish, and she had time thereafter to then craft even more psychological tricks and more psychological railways and help the government figure out a way to make these witnesses, to make Diddy look worse, and to make these witnesses answer their line of questioning in a way that satisfied their needs.
And let me tell you guys why this is especially pernicious. So I told you guys this before, but again, a lot of you guys might be newer viewers. On the first day, there was opening statements, guys. Opening statements is when each side presents their case, right? They give you a quick summary of what their evidence is going to be, what their intention is. When the government came out, they said, did he use his power, influence, coercion, violence, etc., to run an empire and, be able to do it with little impunity? And he was able to do it basically unchecked. And he had his people working for him, helping him do this, right? And he's a monster. Cool. Then the defense came in and said, look, the government is taking a domestic violence case and trying to make it a sex trafficking case. We're not condoning domestic violence, but what we are saying is that this is domestic violence. This is not a RICO sex trafficking case that the government's trying to spin up. This is a relationship between two toxic individuals in a toxic relationship that were beating on each other and abusing each other. That's what the defense said. So I find it interesting that after both parties gave their opening statements, then the government has this witness, and they met with them after opening statements, and they knew what the defense was going to do.
that now the witness is coming in with the domestic violence angle. That's why the defense was going after her. Like, hold on one second. So you bring this witness in, who's a domestic violence expert, and she's conveniently talking about the things that the government's star witness is being attacked on. What's everyone attacking Cassie on? Hey, why didn't she just leave? Why didn't she just leave? Like, she was with Diddy for 10 years. She had the ability and the resources to leave. Why didn't she leave? And then, and that's a valid question. A lot of people are asking that. So then they bring the psychiatrist in, or psychologist, and what does she say? Oh, well, there's all these reasons why people might not leave. So the defense caught her in that. They said, you met with the government 6 to 8 times. You gave them certain terms. Did you help them write their briefs too? So what they're able to do was insinuate that this woman, this expert, had a bit more of a invasive role in this trial as a subject matter expert. That's what they were able to insinuate. And I think they did a good job of it, because the government had to object multiple times and call sidebars. They called sidebars 3 times during cross on this, guys. So they had them on the ropes, for sure.
Yeah, that was actually, to your point, that was really interesting, because the way they called the sidebars was dramatic too. They were objection. Like,
yes.
Sidebar. We need a sidebar.
When he asked a tough question.
We need a sidebar. He made a
good point.
Yeah. Whenever he made a good point, they immediately sidebarred. It was heavy.
And they also said, they made a point, look, you're not getting paid by the National Institute of Science. Because she said, I'm here as a scientist. I'm here to, I'm here to testify as an expert and
provide scientific facts.
And I'm here off of science, right?
Yeah.
My experience comes from science. And they said, well, who are you being paid by? You're being paid by the Department of Justice. You're not being paid by the Institute of Science.
Right.
The prosecutors who work for the Department of Justice are the ones that are paying you. And I think they did a really good job of kind of hurting your credibility a bit.
And remember Johnny Depp, Amber Heard.
Yeah.
She tried the same thing. I believe they threw her testimony out, but with the.
But didn't the psychiatrist actually help Johnny?
No, the psychologist was for Amber Heard. Same exact song and dance.
Okay.
Same exact. Oh yeah, abuse.
But didn't Johnny get his own psychologist too?
He did, to refute.
Okay.
And that's what the defense said today. That's what they said they wanted. They were in preparation. She used on the stand today, the psychiatrist.
Yeah. She
used on the stand today that she was helping the government prepare, because remember, she got tripped up in that line of questioning. She said they were going to refute with another psychologist, so I was helping to prepare for what he was going to rebut with.
Okay.
So she tried to use that, but it was too late in the game by the time that happened.
Yeah, the defense should have got a psychologist, because here's the thing, bro. It's so subjective.
It is.
It's subjective, and yeah. So then the government went ahead and redirected, right? So after they had the defense did a fantastic job of hurting her making money, her meeting with the government 6 to 8 times, even though she's supposed to be someone who's a blind witness. The fact that they use certain terminology in their briefs that is in the psychiatry world. And then they met after the trial began, and they met after opening statements were made where the defense had stated their position that this is a domestic violence case. Then all of a sudden she's talking about domestic violence. So I think they did a really good job of kind of illustrating this story where we have this psychiatrist in here that might be suggestive, that might be biased, okay, that might not like men, okay. Then the government redirected, and they said, okay, everything that you submitted was relevant to your testimony, not facts of the case. The meetings were about educating the government. She can only testify in what's related. The presentation 10 years ago, she hasn't done it since. Now presentations are for psychologists and doing forensic analyzation in trauma cases and sexual assault. That's what she does now. That's all of her presentations. She goes to all the psychology conferences in the United States. Board certified forensic psychology is hard to get 40 in the United States. 40, there's only 40 of them in New York City. Did we already define board certified?
Yeah, we already defined board certified. But
on the good stream or on the fucked up stream?
On the good stream.
Okay.
But what I should mention is that we did speak about when I showed you my credentials and I was showing you how I also attended the meeting.
Yes.
I also have 30 CMEs or whatever, like the same she was. I have a bunch of CMEs.
Yeah.
So do I.
Can you tell them what a CME is?
Yeah. So it's continuing education credit, but it is, the APA does sign off on it, and so it's legitimate. It's basically by an accredited board mixed with the APA saying that you took this course or you studied this or you completed or contributed enough hours to satisfy a need for whatever you're going for as far as it deals with psychology or psychiatry. And then there's the annual meeting, which is a meeting that everyone attends, and that not everyone, but a lot of people go to the annual meeting, and the who's who of the mental health crowd is at these annual meetings. Although I will say it's infiltrated lately by only women, but that's something that he'll get into in a little bit.
Hell, let's get into it now. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, last thing before we get into it. So they asked her, have you been retained by any of the attorneys here? And she said yes. So the government thought that they had her, that they had it, right? The government says, hey, have you ever been retained by any of the attorneys here? She says yes, one of the defense attorneys. So then the defense comes back on the stand and they say, who retained you? And she said, Brian Steele, right? Mm-hmm. It was a case where a woman shot her husband 5 times in the head and Steele didn't consider her an expert and he didn't want to use her. So she wasn't actually retained. And I think it's probably because she has this very pro-female thing and she never did anything for the benefit of the guy.
And it's interesting because she was, the defendant was a female.
Yes,
and
in that case.
Still didn't want.
Yeah, they didn't want
to retain her.
Yeah, he didn't want to retain her. So let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over. I think this is very, very important. So what this testimony basically proved, right? And I was listening to it. Basically, abuse is a very nebulous, opaque term that can be attributed to anything, right? If you're in a relationship with a girl and she misbehaves or she does something you don't like and you withdraw attention or you withdraw money or you withdraw whatever, she can now consider that abuse. And they clinically look at it like that. That's where we are now, chat, okay? It's subjective. And I mean, the Johnny Depp case kind of proved that, what you were saying. So they bring one psychologist and they say, oh yeah, Johnny Depp is evil. And then they bring another one and she says, oh yeah, Amber Heard is evil, right? She has BPD or whatever. So what I'm realizing is that the APA, psychiatrists and psychologists, is being infiltrated by feminism. And when you infiltrate it with feminism, now we're talking about the feels before the reals. Now we're talking about, oh, well, now they can't get away from their abuser. You know, the honeymoon phase, love bombing, whatever. You know, and here's, to give you guys a double standard here. Let's say I had a girl, right? And my girl would tell me all the time that I'm a loser, right? And she would be abusing me. If I went and said, yo, my girl's abusing me, blah, 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 let's be honest here. People would laugh at me. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Just leave. You can leave. No one's holding a gun to your head. Leave. Right? But when it comes to women, not only do they have all the authority and all the privilege by being a woman, because they're able to double dip and act like a man when they want, but at the same time be able to get the same privilege as a female, now they don't have to take responsibility for making poor mating decisions and getting with losers. They could go in and attribute to abuse instead of just finding another partner or finding whatever. And this is another example of what I mean when I say we have this society now where it's literally a gynocentric society, guys. Like, women don't take accountability for their actions, and now we are legislating them not being able to take accountability for their actions. And they can sit there and say, I'm being abused. Well, how about you just leave, right? This is why arranged marriages have been a thing for so goddamn long. Because when you leave women to their own devices, they pick terrible men. And then they pick these terrible men. They don't take accountability for it. And then they come back later on and say, oh, I was being abused. No, you should have left. Whose fault is it to stay in a bad relationship? Is it your fault or the abuser's fault? I think it's your fault. If I go on a date with a girl and she doesn't smash me or she uses me or whatever, and I say, this is financial abuse, everyone's going to laugh at me. They're going to literally act like, oh, you took her on 10 dates and you didn't smash and you spent $10,000? You're a fucking idiot. Ha-ha, retard. No sympathy. But if a woman's in a relationship with a guy and he treats her poorly, oh my God, you're such a victim. Ridiculous, man.
So this is an example of what I mean when I say feminism, guys, has now seeped into psychology and psychiatry, and it scares me because we're going to get into a feels before the reals world very soon if we're not already in it. Chad, take it away, man. I know you could talk about this a lot more. Can you define for them real quick the difference between psychiatry versus psychology, and then how you, from your, just you being going to these board meetings and seeing everything that you've seen, how feminism has seeped into this world?
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much what you're dealing with, so psychology does not require any residency, or it doesn't require you to become a doctor and do psychiatric residency. Psychiatric residency is required for you to become a psychiatrist. And generally speaking, psychiatrists give out, they're associated more. Those are the people you see that, oh, I went to the shrink and I got medication. That's a psychiatrist. That's what that's associated with. Psychologist, I hate to say it like this, is more of a, unless they are producing papers and producing changes that result in a shift in the way that things are perceived, or they're participating in adjusting the DSM as it pertains to scientific phenomena and the changes in scientific phenomena, they're basically glorified therapists. I hate to say it like that.
Psychologists are glorified therapists,
yes,
basically.
Psychologists.
And guys, like the video, we're giving you a lot of sauce. I got someone here that's, that's in this world just for you guys. This is like the perfect episode. Keep going, bro. Keep going.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's the difference. What's happened is we now have people who are able to become psychologists who have zero brain power, zero knowledge, zero actual interest. See, what happens is this. We used to have people who cared about science in the brain, namely men. I hate saying it like that, but that's what it was. So they wanted to drive life-changing things. They wanted to drive changes, and they wanted to understand the brain. Now, I'm not taking it all the way back to Sigmund Freud. He was a psychopath, but, after that, there were a good amount of people who had a good amount of experiments and contributions that tried to influence how psychology could affect the world. Now, it is a flawed science. I will say that it's a flawed science because, like, as my boy Evan frequently brings up, that it can't be replicated, really. So it's hard to replicate a psychological science, and things change way too much. There's fluctuation, like depression. Depression one day is real, then depression the next day is not real. The depression, well, these pills are a placebo, but then these pills work. But now we have new studies and new verifiable studies that are coming out at an alarming rate saying that selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, basically antidepressants, don't really work because they don't really do anything for your serotonin levels. It's absolute madness what this field has turned into. Now, it has turned
real
into
quick,
that.
before you tell them about what the madness of this field, please give them your educational background and what it is, because some of these people I could see in the chat, they're like wondering, like, who's this guy? What's his background? And I think that some of them missed it from the before. Just real quick, Chad, give them your educational background.
Oh, yeah.
I know you don't like to brag about it, but just real quick.
Yeah, so I went to Harvard. I'll say that's great. I went there, but my background is in psychology, and I studying psychology, things like that. And I will say I did IT for most of my life, and then I got interested in psychology afterwards. But and I'm on the American Psychiatric Association, District 32, Massachusetts branch, the Massachusetts district of the APA. And I'm part of various caucuses, multiple caucuses, and I actually do.
And what's a caucus?
A caucus is, it's almost like the division that she was talking about in the American Psychological Association. Like how they have divisions, the APA Division 1, 2, and 3, and the American Psychiatric Association. There are caucuses that you can join that are similar to those.
Yeah, you bitch ass niggas in the chat. Yeah, he's a Harvard grad.
Yeah.
You think he's just here just yapping? Like, there's a reason he's here, man. Sorry, bro. Keep going.
Yeah,
keep going.
Even
Just
if it wasn't Harvard, I'm smarter than most of you niggas anyway. So the whole thing is, so yeah, that's my background. But yeah,
you were talking about the caucuses. You're a member of the APA.
Yeah.
So you go to these meetings.
I do go to.
You go to these meetings.
Yeah.
What is the breakdown there?
So basically, when you go to
of men and women,
when you go, well, nowadays the breakdown is kind of crazy. You see a lot more women than you do men.
Yeah.
The APA meetings are they're scheduled in such a way that there's a topic, and every year you go, it's based around that topic.
Yep.
So like, I forgot what it was last year, but let's just say it's the ethno-psychopharmacological influences on impoverished communities.
Yeah,
like
some bullshit like that.
They use some strong name like that. Basically, they go there and they virtue signal a lot, and they go, hey, well, the black people need help, and the girls need help because they're getting beat a lot, and all these misogynists. There's Myron. There's this guy Myron. You heard of Myron? Like,
yeah.
do shit like that, and then everyone sniffs each
or
other's asses.
Or they'll take the victim narrative. Just so y'all know, he's based on the race thing, by the way. This is not a DEI guy. He's
far from it.
He's racist just like me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I should be saying that out loud.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty racist. But
Yeah,
everyone knows I'm racist.
We make fun of niggas, bro.
Yeah, basically all the time. So basically that's what's going on, and then after the ass sniffing and everything happens, you then get to actually meet people. Some people who actually want to do the work and forward the science. Some people who just want to hear themselves talk. Some people who are just trying to get up, politically and within the reins of the APA. But yeah, so it's really heavily influenced by women now. You have women who think that they're interested in the field, but they're not really interested in the field. What they're interested in is, it's like, oh my God, it's so cool. I get to learn my fucking emotions, like shit like that. And then they go there, they realize, oh shit, I don't really get to learn about my emotions. And then they end up being a therapist, or they end up being a psychologist, because it's too hard to be a psychiatrist because you have to do extra work. And by the time they graduate, they can become a psychologist. You can become a forensic psychologist with minimal work, like easy bachelor's, and then you don't have to even have your bachelor's in anything medical related. You can just take your master's in forensic psychology, and then that's it. Then you can become
versus being a psychiatrist. You're actually a doctor. Yeah, you're a medical doctor.
You have to go through.
You're an MD, right?
Med school, pretty much. Yeah.
You're an MD when you're a psychiatrist.
So it's pretty wicked how so the field has become infiltrated because it's like 13th grade, kind of like nursing school. Like, I hate to say it, sorry nurses, but how being a nurse is like 13th grade for most women.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with psychology. It's now become 13th grade, and it's become heavily infiltrated by people who don't give a shit about it and who aren't intellectually sound enough to actually make any impact on the field.
Now, how is this impacted? Because when she came in there, I just heard a bunch of feminist propaganda bullshit here, right? Where, it's abuse this, abuse that. And, it's interesting because these terms of abuse that she was utilizing in this trial, a man would never be able to use that shit, ever. We would just get laughed at. Like, what do you mean you can't leave? You're being economically abused? Get the fuck out of here. So how have you seen like the trajectory of the psychology world, even the psychiatry world, like become more and more feminist centric and kind of appeal more to female emotion versus facts.
Well, now it's appealing to female emotion because everything has to be about how the woman is feeling and how they can get empathy across. So, something going on over there?
What?
Hold on.
We're getting a Mossad attack, bro. Bro, as soon as we start fucking cooking, what do? They we get on this topic and the nigga, bro. It's back now? All right. I'm checking YouTube right now, see if it's back. I'll cut this part out as well when I edit. That's about 116. Some nigga said this guy's not a Harvard grad. Okay, nigga.
Yeah, it'd be like that. People get upset all the time. There's nothing you can do about it.
Let's see here. We might be back. Let me see here. Chat, give me O/ if you guys can, if we're back. Give me O slashes if we're back, guys. Okay, so this is where we're at right now.
Yeah, I see. It should be you on the screen.
Yeah. It's I said the Mossad attack. They're there.
It says you're back now. Yeah, people saying you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, that attack was wild.
All right. God damn, man. As soon as we start cooking about this shit, bro. All right. So 34 minutes and 116. That's where I'll have to like clean it up. All right. Go ahead, bro.
All right, so yeah.
You were on you're talking about it being infiltrated, 13th grade. Shit.
Yeah, I was talking about it being infiltrated. Basically, I was saying like that women don't have.
Oh yeah, feels versus feelings. You're talking about feelings.
Yeah. So the reason the field is kind of is scarred and marred and torn to shit right now is because they're taking the most malleable of people and introducing them to the psychological fields.
Okay.
And because they're doing that, they're able to sway the opinion of other people, namely women, because women are easily persuaded, with opinions and stuff like that. So, like, let me clean this up. So they're taking women who come out from high school saying, hey, you should be a psychologist. It's a great job, whatever. Those women are extremely malleable when they come out because they want a job that's going to pay a lot and what they think is going to pay a lot, but they're going to be affecting lives, but they're also going to get smarter. And they think because they're a psychologist or a therapist that they're going to understand men and be able to counter what men say, things of that nature.
Yeah. And
then these women get into the field, but they don't actually care.
Gotcha.
Not only do they not actually care, they find out that the field it's kind of difficult, depending on which road you want to take.
Yeah. A lot of girls have an undergrad psychology degree, but very few of them actually go through and get the fucking full on.
There's the undergrad psychology degrees, like I said. That's why I call it 13th grade. Like, I'm not trying to shit on them like that or anything, but it's you don't really need to do much to get it, and you don't have to be smart to get it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Facts. You know what I mean? Bimbos I know they got psychology degrees.
Yeah, and they don't know the first thing about it.
Yep.
They don't know the first thing about the brain. They don't know the first thing about human interaction.
Yep.
So it being oversaturated with women now, it was always heavily saturated by women. Let's just get that straight. It's always been more of a female field, but there was a lot of, how do you say, there was a lot of heavy male influence involved to keep it within bounds.
Okay.
But now the bounds are gone.
So let me ask you this. Would you say that the explosion in depression medication, Xanax medications, SSRIs, all this stuff, all this crap that's like exploded when it comes to prescriptions and usage over the past several decades, would you attribute that to the explosion of females in the field, misdiagnosing people and or or ADHD? I remember growing up as a kid, we would just tell niggas they're stupid or they're retarded.
Yeah.
Like, bro, well, you're just a dumbass. But now it's like everything has a label. ADHD, depression, we need to give you some medication to keep you more calm. Like, would you say that, this over prescription or this over medication of people for mental ailments, is this a product of women entering the field?
So I would say two things. I would say because of the hyper adjustment there was a hyper adjustment to having to have a fix for every issue that is mental. And then second, on top of that, Big Pharma understood that. They were able to see that and they capitalized on that and then reinforced that. So
okay.
They shifted.
So two different things going on.
Two different things going on, but they're simultaneous. They're parallel in nature.
Okay.
So
Big Pharma being greedy.
Big Pharma being greedy.
Uh-huh.
And people trying to over-medicate and have a fix for every single psychological issue when some psychological issues, most people don't go to a psychologist or a therapist. And, often, I must say, there's often confusion about who to go to as well.
Yeah.
But most people don't go there because they feel like they're crazy. Most people go there because they have an issue and they can't figure out why they can't fix the issue. Mm-hmm. And the issue is almost always something that they've done. But they don't want to take accountability for it because once you take the accountability, then the change has to happen, and the change triggers something in your body. Well, it's literally in your brain. Your brain does not like change. Yeah. So complacency, because you can get the same dopaminergic effect from doing the same shitty thing over and over again. So kind of like what she said today, and I do agree with her, and obviously she's right about that. That's scientific. Like, for instance, if I keep hitting my head against the wall like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Right? And so if I keep hitting my head against the wall like a fucking idiot, and then I stop doing it, if my brain says, like, listen, you got to hit your head on this fucking wall at least 3 times a day for me to feel normal. You know what I mean? I'm being extreme, but that's how extreme, it can be sometimes. It can feel to people sometimes.
Yeah.
So instead of changing that with cognitive behavioral therapy or therapy to change your cognitive response to things, they just started medicating. And then when women got involved heavily over the years, because remember, birth control triggers a shitload, mostly, I would say like 80% of the shit that's like depression, all that stuff, birth control is a big contributor to that. So then you get...
So you got 3 things going on.
You got
the explosion of feminism.
Right.
The mass production and usage of birth control.
Mm-hmm.
Women becoming whores, which plays into it.
Being
promiscuous.
Yep.
Then you got Big Pharma coming in and cashing in on this. And on top of that, you got women entering the workforce as psychiatrists / also a psychologist.
Right.
So it's almost like a 5-part I don't even want to say a 5-headed
dragon.
5-headed dragon almost, where it's like all these different things are kind of working together in tandem to create this problem now. Because I remember back in the day, bro, you would say, oh, I went to the shrink, and everyone would make fun of you. They call them shrinks. I don't think Gen Zers even know what that means.
Yeah, right.
Calling them a shrink. Like, being on medication now, mental medication, is completely socially acceptable, right? To be on Ritalin, to be on ADHD to be on Ritalin, what's the one that they used to focus? Adderall.
Yeah.
Right? Ritalin, Adderall, Xanax, any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It completely socially acceptable now.
It's socially acceptable, and on top of that, what makes it even worse is that they're saying that it's okay to take benzodiazepines and take amphetamines at the same time. So, for instance, they're saying it's okay to take a super upper and a super down. Like, dude, this is my TikTok, man. I'm going to take you on my fucking Adderall journey, bro. I'm a pussy, and I need Adderall to focus. And then, like, when I focus too hard, it hurts my feelings, so that I got to take Xanax to calm down.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. So it's like up and then down. So you're combining 2 medications that really, clinically people say you should combine them, but honestly you shouldn't, because that's how Marilyn Monroe died.
Yeah. And, you're 37, I'm 35. I remember if someone pulled out, like, a Ritalin bottle or said, I got to go take my meds, we'd laugh at them and be like, you're a fucking you need medication, you're a retard, right? We'd roast them. Or we say, you're just dumb. Now, like, these young guys, all of them are on medication, dude. It's like a flex to be like, I use Xanax. Or I got Adderall. I remember they were dealing Adderall on college campuses. I was like, what?
That was a big thing because it made people feel like a superhuman.
Yeah.
Because obviously it does elicit response, right? Because it is helping you focus, depending on who you are, but it does help people hyper-focus, and it does help them hone in on things. But it also gives you an amphetamine style thing where you just feel jittery all the time. You have a lot of energy. But yeah, like what you were saying, we used to say people, you can fix things without taking medication, but people would rather not do the work anymore.
Yeah.
Because there is what they perceive as a quick fix, until they realize if you don't have that quick fix pill when you need it, then you hit withdrawal. Now you're an addict.
So would you say, and that was actually a good point that you made with birth control being so mainstream that it caused a lot of the problems that they're actually medicating for when it comes to the female side. So with women like infiltrated, because you're saying what, 70-30 now, pretty much? They control it?
I mean, it's probably worse than that. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd say it's worse than that.
Like 80-20?
Yeah.
When it comes to both psychiatry and psychology? Both?
Psychiatry maybe a little bit better, but psychology is, I would say, 80-20.
Dominated by women all the way.
Just dominated.
Now, would you say then that, does that play a significant role into this over-medication society that we have, and this, just kind of this, I don't know, this very, participation trophy type society we got going on?
I would say, so from my opinion, right, this isn't a scientific opinion or like a clinical opinion, but yeah, from my opinion, I think it is. Because, listen, you introduce birth control, right? And then you have women in the field, and then you have women empathizing with women about the shit that women go through, when the stuff that women are going through is caused by women taking shit that women take, you know what I mean? Like, because of feminism. Yeah. So it's like, it's a revolving door. So yeah, it's definitely contributing to
Is that kind of why you exited out of it and you're like, man, fuck this shit?
I talk about this all the time. Like I got out of this field quick as fuck, as quick as I possibly could when I realized that, number one, I'm not going to have a shot, right? Because I'm a black male and I'm going to be talking to people, right? Yep. They don't want to hear that, number one. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't, in that field, I mean. It's not that it's racist. It's just like it's dominated by white women. Yeah. So white women, they don't want me to be like, no, you're wrong. But
wouldn't they consider you like an ally to them in that?
No. They would say, I don't like this black guy talking to. They want to control me. Oh. That's how it works.
So you would only be able to come in if you're on like some cuck shit. Yeah. Sensitive, into feelings. And here's the thing. Let's be like, I know your political view. You lean right. Yeah. You know, you'd be far more likely to tell someone stop being a bitch. Right. This is all rhetoric that they probably wouldn't accept.
No, not at all. They hate it.
You know, if some dude came in and is like, bro, I'm from the streets, man. I'm black. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm a product of my environment. You probably tell him stop being a dumbass, stop sagging your pants. This is stuff that probably would get you in trouble. You know.
Oh, yeah. You would get in a bunch of trouble because I'd have to empathize with the person to understand. Well, see, I ask why. I understand, like, at a foundational level. You always want to ask why to understand the baseline of a situation. But with this, it's more like, but he shot someone. You need to understand why he shot 5 people and why he's in and out of jail. Empathize. Oh. How's he feeling about it? Don't just tell him to not go to jail anymore. Tell him how to fix it. You out of your fucking mind?
That's what they would tell you.
Stop shooting people. Yeah.
That's literally what they would tell you.
That's how it is now. And they also, and people can verify this, they changed the DSM. They changed certain meanings in the DSM. So like,
tell them what the DSM is, please.
That is
so they know.
The diagnostic manual, that's the diagnostic manual for basically psychology and psychiatry. It's just basically it's the entire diagnostic manual. It's
like the fucking cookbook of mental problems, right?
It's the Bible for them.
It's like the Pokédex.
Yeah, it's the Pokédex. It's
literally the Pokédex of mental problems, right?
Perfect example. That's exactly what it is. And in that manual, they actually changed the word. It used to be manic depressive, right? Yeah. Now they changed that to bipolar. It used to be Asperger's. Now that's all grouped under autism. You know what I mean? So like, those are just light examples, but they've changed things in order to make it more palatable for this femme-centric generation.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, wow, I didn't even realize that. So they've like adjusted names and stuff, so it's not as offensive.
Yeah. And then you'll hear arguments, of course. Like you're gonna hear arguments from plenty of female. I'm in psychology, and I did that. You can hear all these arguments like, "Oh, we did it because." You know.
Who's in charge of like the definitions and stuff? Is it the psychology world or psychiatry world?
So there's a bunch of contributions that come. Usually you're invited as well, but there's a bunch of contributions that come from a bunch of different places, and then people review it. It's like a long, slightly arduous process, but a lot of the stuff is carried over from way back. You know what I mean? So not much changes every time. We're on the DSM-5, I believe, currently. The last time I was involved with the field was DSM-5, but everyone was basing their knowledge or their diagnostic knowledge off of the DSM-4 because the DSM-4 held less controversial opinions and changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was at the 5, but now I was at the 5 and everyone was using the 4. Because when the 5 came out, that's when all the, I guess you can call it DEI stuff started happening.
Gotcha.
So that's when it became more femme-centric and things like that.
The DEI. So would you say that the DSM-5 was literally like that was the turning point?
I think that was as far as the DSM, yeah, I would say that was the beginning of it.
Okay.
And then, I haven't been around.
What are they at now?
It should be still on the 5. They might be working on a 6, but they should still be on the 5. They don't release like every year. It's not like Madden, unfortunately.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's like
every couple of years they release it, update a Pokédex.
Yeah, people have to get together, decide on things, decide on certain definitions, change.
Who's in charge of that? Who runs that?
There's a governing board.
Okay.
And then
is that board run by women?
That I don't know anymore.
Okay.
I have no idea what it's run by.
Man, watching her testify made me really worried because, dude, we're getting into a place now where anything you do as a guy that your girl doesn't like can be deemed as abuse. I think that's where we're headed, dude. I genuinely believe, like, let's say your girl misbehaves, does some fuck shit. You stop talking to her for like a day or 2. They could consider that isolation abuse. Yeah. Or she talks shit to you, doesn't do what she's supposed to do. You don't give her money. Hey, you fucked up. You made a mistake. I'm not giving you money.
Yeah, it's
financial
semantics
abuse.
What they play on is semantics and ambiguity.
Yeah.
So like they use semantics to try to confuse you with words and, word gymnastics, word salad, whatever. And then there's a significant amount of ambiguity, so you can't actually pinpoint what the crux of the situation actually was. So like if it was, let's say, like you just gave an example, isolation abuse, right?
Yeah.
Like they would just, that's
me just not talking to her.
Super ambiguous term.
Yeah.
So did he not talk to you? Did he not do, okay. And then
did he put you in a corner?
Right.
Did he put you in a closet and say, stay there?
And if he did that, did he do it because he thought you were going to hurt yourself, or are you not going to admit that? You know what I mean? So like,
good point.
Yeah, right.
So, dude, I don't know, man. Like this is some wild stuff, because I could just see how this can really like come back and fuck anybody up, dude. Because now it's getting to a point where anything you do to correct bad female behavior or give them consequences can now be deemed as abuse, man. That's where we're going. And I think as women continue to infiltrate and dominate both psychology and psychiatry, well, I think look, toxic masculinity. There you go.
Yeah.
Like that I forgot about that. Like that's a whole thing that came from who brought that term out. That's from the female side of the psychiatry world.
Yeah,
or?
Toxic masculinity was a term coined by a man, actually.
Okay,
it's not even like a real deal psychologist or scientist. And then that's similar to emotional intelligence.
Oh my God, I hate that term.
Emotional intelligence is also coined by a man who was playing on the proclivity of women to fall in line with like tribalistic nature. So like if you say his emotional intelligence is bad.
Camera, bro, so you can see you.
Oh yeah, so like his emotional intelligence is bad, right? It's his fault because he's not emotionally intelligent enough. He's not emotionally intelligent. All right, so
and you know what's interesting? Women almost always use that fucking term on men only. I never see them use it on each other.
They're not going to use it on each other because they're not emotionally intelligent. By their own standards, they wouldn't be considered emotionally intelligent.
And none of them can ever define it. I don't even, to this day, I still don't know what the fuck that word means.
It's not a real definition.
It's not a clinical word,
it's
right?
Made up. I think I could swear on everything. It was in the newspaper or a magazine. This dude made it up, and it just caught. I think someone can verify that, but I think it was in a magazine or a newspaper. Some dude made it up.
So it's not a real term.
It's not a real term. No, it's not a scientific.
Because I noticed women can never define it, and they only use it as a pejorative term to men every single time.
It's a pejorative term, or it's a really good straw man for them. That's what they think. It's a really good straw. Because if you're not, that's why I said if you take away someone's academic education and you leave them with street smarts and you leave them with intelligence or intellectual capability, every human being is gonna fall susceptible to a couple of things. One of them is ad hominem attacks. That's how you can judge. I think that's a good baseline judge of how you're going to interact in conversation. When someone throws an ad hominem out and then you either yell at them, go back at them, or you either remain calm. As they say, the first person to cast a stone lost the argument. And then something like emotional intelligence, a good straw man, as far as they're concerned, where like when you say, I don't understand why you're acting like this.
Yeah.
And you are saying that me reacting like a man is wrong. I'm reacting like a man. All I know how to say is, how do we fix this problem?
Yeah.
All you're doing is running around in fucking circles nonstop. Well, that's because you're not emotionally intelligent enough to understand the situation I'm in, because if you were, you understand how I'm feeling right now. And if you did, that's what they do. It's a term that explain to me what emotional intelligence is. And then after you explain to me what you think it is, describe to me what both of those words mean to you. And then we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
But they never get to that point because they use that, they throw it out to try and derail the argument. That's all it's for.
And it's always used in a pejorative manner every single time to almost like disqualify your understanding of the situation.
Right.
You interpret a situation in a certain way. You might, and honestly, a lot of times you interpret it from an objective manner, right? For example, she goes late to work all the time and they fire her. Well, you were going late to work all the time and they warned you twice. You showed up late. Hey, you fucked up. Well, you're not emotionally intelligent. You don't get it that they used to abuse me and all this other stuff. So I would show up late because right? And they go into all this other shit. But you're making an objective and rational conclusion from her behavior. And because you don't look at the emotional side as much, she says you're not emotionally intelligent. Right. Like that's how women look at it. Like you don't understand my feelings when said event occurred. That doesn't matter though. At the end of the day,
it doesn't. And my thing is, okay, so you're saying this is called emotional intelligence, right? So there should be some sort of intelligence quotient, right? So give me the emotional intelligence version of an IQ test.
Exactly.
Where can you find that?
Exactly. You can't.
Because it's not measured. There's no way to measure emotional
Completely subjective.
Right.
And the other thing, another stupid ass term they use, verbal violence. Have you heard that one?
Verbal violence.
I heard a girl, you actually use that on the show. Like, what are these fucking nonsense? Like,
you heard that one? TikTok. It's TikTok. These are TikTok definitions. You know what I mean? Like, you're verbally violent. You're toxic masculinity. The whole inception of toxic masculinity was simply the fact that men acted like men, and women were tired of men acting like men. But as women got more of a stronghold in different fields, now it became okay to say, okay, well, this is toxic behavior.
Yep.
You guys should be more emotional. You guys should, basically they're saying you guys should be more like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not more like us, then you're not emotionally intelligent, and you're also toxic and masculine, and we can't really listen to you. We don't have to listen to you, and we can say that you're hurting us in any type of way, shape, or form, which brings it all home to exactly what you're talking about. It makes it extremely dangerous. The precedent that was sent with the testimony from this lady.
Yeah.
Today.
Because now it's like anything that you do to a girl that she doesn't like can be labeled as abuse, man. Anything. Like anything. Because it's subjective and open to her interpretation. And let's say she's not fucking all there. Not all the marbles are there.
Like the economic abuse thing to me was really, really hilarious, right? So she was talking about the economic abuse. I know we talked about the laptop thing.
Yeah.
But let's talk in a broad spectrum manner. So you're saying a woman, let's just use male or female. Let's say the woman is the one being economically abused here. So there's economic abuse taking place, right? Mm-hmm. If this woman is feeling that she's economically abused, that means she's living a traditional lifestyle, right? Because that would mean that the man is taking care of everything.
Yeah.
Because if the man isn't if she isn't living a traditional lifestyle and the man isn't taking care of it, and she's an independent woman who happened to get with a guy, there's no way she could be economically abused. Facts. Because she had her own beforehand and during and should after.
Yep.
So, it's like I said, it's all about.
And not only that, now that you mention it, these like stupid terms that they use, economic abuse, financial, whatever, it actually disincentivizes women to become traditional housewives. Now that I think about it.
Right.
Like, because it's almost like they coined these terms to encourage women to make their own money and continue on with the feminist rhetoric.
It is, because it's funny, in court, as I'm sitting next to you and I'm laughing to myself because we laughed at something that happened in court, and the very next thought was, everything they're saying can be applied.
Oh, and the bitches were mad at us, by the way. The women, I don't know if you saw those two like fucking chicks that
in the back
that were sitting behind us. Like, are you guys together? That wasn't them asking if we're together. They were trying to figure out why we're saying the things that we were saying.
Yeah, they were
trying to ascertain where we're from.
A whole row almost.
Yeah, they were trying to. You know what I mean? Like,
they're very upset about it.
They were not happy about it. And then in the elevator.
Oh, the elevator.
I was like, well, bro, what this abuse? He beat her ass. Like, well, she hit him too.
Yeah,
two feminists in the elevator got triggered when we were having a conversation about this shit, man.
Yeah, we're not here to we're not talking about the morality of Sean Combs or whoever else. What we're here to discuss is the fact that we're in court. We have to look at objective, the objectivity of the situation, and we're trying to figure out if his charges are going to stick. We don't care. I don't give a shit if he hit her. I mean, it's bad. I wouldn't hit women, but it's just like it's not what I'm here for. And then she butt into the conversation, which was the problem. She inserted herself into a conversation that she had no point in, and then she wanted to use her emotional intelligence, to virtue signal. It's ridiculous.
It's like, man, this is just like, the more I think about this, the more it's like, this is actually very, very scary. This is a big case. It's a federal case. Diddy's looking at effectively for him life.
Yeah. And
we got a psychologist in there who's in there as a subject matter expert giving extremely fucking, ambiguous definitions or using ambiguous terms that, quite frankly, any woman can use. Because now you can, okay, let's say your wife that you live with disobeys you. And you say, you know what? No ice cream for you this Friday. I'm not going to give you no money to go ice cream. And now that's economic and financial abuse now.
That's true. It's not even exaggerated. That's the crazy part. You're not even exaggerating.
They can use that as financial abuse.
Almost some of the things today were borderline like that. I was like, what the like, you know, when she brought up the laptop thing, that's when I knew it was like just this inherent bias and she was talking to them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because there was no way she's going to bring up the laptop.
That was a very descriptive fact.
Super descriptive. And, that's abuse. Like, what if he's going to take away her laptop? The bitch has a job. The bitch had money before Puffy and will after Puffy. Buy another one. Leave. You're going to stay with him because that nigga has your laptop? Get the fuck out of here. So you're going to keep getting beat and everything else that you alleged because the nigga has your laptop.
Now, here's my thing, right? I think we got to get to a point now where we got to tell these women, you got two options, bitch. It's either we treat you like an equal, right? And you have all the agency and responsibility of a man, which means if you're in a bad relationship, you got to fucking leave, okay? You're not going to sit here and say economic abuse, financial abuse, I couldn't leave, Stockholm Syndrome, all this fuck shit. Or we go back to treating you guys like fucking children with no agency, where a man needs to pretty much run your entire life, which is how it's been since the beginning of time, right? Isn't it amazing how all these different cultures kind of understood that men need to be the leaders and women need to kind of follow their lead? And they did it specifically because of shit like this. So it's like, if we're going to have feminism and we're going to have women be equal to men, which is what feminism is, right? Then we got to give you guys, we're going to give you guys the equality that you guys want, which means that you got to deal with the responsibility. But now we're getting to a point where they have all the agency with none of the responsibility, and they can regress to childlike responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me, and this is scary because who has to bear the brunt of everything? The man. And then they wonder why guys don't want to get married. They wonder why guys don't want to get involved in serious relationships. It's dangerous now.
Yeah. Overcorrecting for agency actually stripped them of their agency and allows other women like this psychologist to strip them of their agency by saying that they can't make conscious decisions for themselves.
Yeah. That's what this is. Because they're trying to double dip. And it's like not enough people are calling this shit out. Like I feel like I'm like a crazy man right now. Right? If I were to talk about this, people will say, oh, you're a misogynist, whatever. No, this is a serious fucking problem. We literally have a subject matter expert testifying in one of the biggest cases ever, taking agency away from Cassie, who is an adult, clearly had sound mind, right? Clearly doing what she wanted to do. She admitted to even the assistant who was testifying against Diddy, oh, I don't want to leave because I get an allowance and I live a certain lifestyle. And what happens? Now they're sitting here running cover for her.
Right. You shouldn't have lived that lifestyle. Also, one other thing, you didn't really give your opinion on this, but I wanted to know what you think about it. The fact that they tried to, let's say, effectively manipulate her sexual nature and say that, well, effectively manipulate the way she went about her sexual nature by saying that she could have been trying to placate him. Now, I'm not saying that's not entirely false, but she was engaging in some pretty crazy shit, and everything was on her. Everything was on her devices, and she was calling these people, including the Punisher, Mr. Meat Freezer. She was calling Mr. Meat Freezer all the time.
Yeah.
And from his understanding, they had a great relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Diddy was doing some weird shit, smacking his meat in the corner with a cowboy hat on, whatever the fuck he was doing.
Yeah.
But she had, from his understanding and his testimony, they had a fine relationship and she liked it.
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up. She coordinated the freak-offs chat.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that's very important for people to understand. Like, she coordinated the freak-offs, okay? She was calling them. She was paying them. She was setting up the hotels. She was getting dressed. She's putting her manicure, doing a manicure, putting the lingerie on, going to the store. She took significant overt steps in multiple situations for years to make these freak-offs a thing. At some point, you can't be a victim anymore. You just can't. And I'm glad that you brought that up because it's like, at what point are we going to draw the fucking line here? Or is it still economic and financial abuse when she's the one that's coordinating everything? Because Diddy's a busy nigga, bro.
Yeah.
Right? So like he delegates. One thing I noticed about Diddy from this trial is this nigga lazy. He don't do nothing himself. He doesn't do shit himself, chat. We're going to get into that with the last guy testimony. Nigga doesn't do nothing himself, bro. So I already know after the first three freak-offs, okay, you take that, baby. You do this shit. So she had a very involved role in this.
Absolutely.
Because she can't have it both ways. She said, I can't do my career because I'm so busy doing this. So if you're so busy coordinating these freak-offs, you got to bear some responsibility for this then.
Right.
Because she literally complained and said, I'm doing it so much, I can't do my music or do anything else. So that tells me that you're heavily involved and you're making this decision.
Correct.
Can't have it both ways.
Not to mention, like, her friend, even just small testimony that ties into that, like her friend saying they all did drugs together, they all had fun, they all loved each other, they had a loving relationship.
Good point.
So it's like, oh, so what's going on here? If you're having this great time, loving relationships, good times, bad times, more bad.
Yeah, I went to Burning Man 3 times, bro. Niggas camping in the desert. Have you been to Burning Man before?
I have not.
Bro, it's like expensive as fuck. It's like a very white person thing to do, by the way. Bro, camping in the fucking desert with tents and shit, listen to EDM. Wild. Come on, man.
3 times. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. And listen, like, I'm not saying women don't tell the truth. I'm not saying that there aren't victims. Like, obviously, I'm privy to the fact that things do happen in the world. I'm absolutely privy to that fact. And I'm also, not ashamed to use data to solidify points and stuff like that. I get it. And all of that is relevant at some point in time. However, as it pertains to this case and what it can do and the precedent that it can send, it's extremely damaging and scary, because you don't want someone to be able to say, this dude wouldn't let me leave the house, or this time we had sex one way, but I didn't like the fact that he put it in that hole this time. Even if he slipped, he shouldn't have slipped. There's such a slippery slope that this can go down, man. And so you don't want any of this.
Setting very dangerous precedent, man. And that's my biggest problem here is like, goddamn, dude, like, what the fuck are we gonna, like, bro, well, I guess we're gonna see. And here's the other thing too, another big red flag. Cassie talked to prosecutors.
Right.
And this is very important for you guys to understand. So when the defense would cross-examine Cassie, they would say, you sat down with agents and prosecutors. That means that she got something called a proffer or a 5K letter, which means she's not going to be prosecuted. Why do you need a proffer letter? You want to know why, guys? That means that you committed a crime too. And you're basically providing this information to the government, providing substantial assistance, and that keeps you from going to jail as long as you're truthful and you provide assistance. She sat down with prosecutors. AUSAs don't like to sit down with defendants. They will only sit down with you if you're getting a letter because they don't want to be witness to a crime, right? Because they got to argue, they got to legislate, right? And they don't want to be in a witness stand. So the fact that she sat down with prosecutors and got a fucking 5K letter in itself tells you that she should be accountable to this. They had to give her a proffer letter for her to not be accountable. And then you got this fucking psychiatrist coming in or psychologist coming in and testifying even more so, saying she's not accountable. This is the gynocentric society, the gynocracy at work.
It is. And
it's like me and you are the only people that are seeing this.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, actually.
Like, I'm looking at this through a red lens, guys. This is a very, like, this is why I think this is one of the most important episodes, because we have a trending case, the biggest case in the United States right now, and one of the main witnesses is a woman who feels like she was abused, but the government had to give her a proffer letter, right? Because she was so intertwined in the criminal activity, because she was the one organizing a lot of this shit, helping the enterprise. She gets immunity. They come after Diddy. I'm not saying that he's an angel. Hell, I'm not even saying he's innocent. But what I am saying is I find it interesting that he's being prosecuted for this. The woman is making the allegations had to get a fucking 5K letter, and then they bring in a psychologist to testify to take accountability from her. And it's like, man, you're the only ones in the courtroom that see this shit.
It was wild. It was a wild experience. I don't understand it, bro. Yeah, the psychologist is.
Yo, we're cooked.
It's over with. The psychologist,
and
really
she's a board certified. 40 of them in New York.
Yeah. She's top
tier. Would you say that like the psychology world like would hold those same opinions that she has? Like, are we that fried?
From what I understand, it's like, you know, and I'm throwing out numbers here.
It's scary, bro.
I don't have data, but from what I understand, at least from what I know, people I talk to, it's like 50-50. 50% of the people are like, she's just saying a bunch of shit. And then 50% of the people are agreeing with her, like, yeah, this all makes sense because what she's saying makes sense from a psychological standpoint. But once again, it leaves she left too much room for ambiguity with it. So that's the issue. Is that even if you said like she didn't use any scientific terms. So I'll give you an example of why her testimony is a little strange. So you know how she was talking about the fear response, right?
Yeah. Explain it real quick to the audience because they're probably wondering what fear response was.
Oh yeah, so they're talking. She was talking about how like you explain how you react to a fearful situation or when trauma happens. Her number one word, her go-to word of the day, was trauma. So the trauma response, right?
Yep.
So not once did she give any scientific explanation of how it works. All she said was, trauma, and then because of the traumatic experience, people could be less inclined to leave or attempt to leave because they're scared. She never once said anything about the amygdala or how the amygdala influences fear. She never said anything about the hippocampus. She never said anything about...
You think she did that to not confuse the jury, though?
No, I think she did that because she didn't... If she started getting into the science, then she could trip herself up.
Gotcha, okay.
Because, the prefrontal cortex is like what people refer to as the governing sector. It allows you to carry out the shit because usually you want to stop batch from happening before it reaches the prefrontal cortex. And once it reaches there, it's game time. It's over with. Okay. So,
and guys, like the video. We only got 1.5K likes, so we're giving you guys this fucking big psychology red pill right now of what the fuck is going on here. Because, guys, we're on the cutting edge of this stuff right now with this case. This is setting a precedent. I'm sorry, bro. Keep going.
No,
like the video, guys. 2000.
But yeah, that shit like that. It's like you have to explain scientifically. If you're going to say I came here in the name of science, you got to use science so that when people in the outside world or psychologists or people that understand this stuff or even study it with a freaking, a GED even, and they understand this stuff, if you're going to say you're here in the name of science, use scientific stuff. But if you do that and you're not as well versed in it, or you may have slipped the bandwagon, jumped the bandwagon to the DEI side when before you were on the other side, you might trip yourself up. And I think that's why she did that. Mm-hmm. It's just people just want the truth pretty much. They just want the truth straight up. They don't want to hear all these psychological hula hooping explanations and shit like that. They just want you to say what it is. Like this, she's acting like this because of this, and this is how this works with the brain. Mm-hmm. Like tell people when she was getting beat, it was releasing serotonin because she's used to it. Like say some shit like that.
Yeah,
that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear she was getting beat and she might have been scared and then she called her cousin and her cousin told her to stay. And no one wants to hear that female shit. Just say what it is, the science.
So before we get into the last guy, George Kaplan, aka one of them boys, what's your prediction, bro, on the future of this? Like you're in the game, you've been to many of these conferences, you've shaken hands and met these people. Obviously, you're very familiar with this because your background in academia. What the fuck do you think is gonna happen, man? In this field, and as it pertains to masculinity and what's going on. Give us the red pill.
I think it's shot.
Future.
I think the field is shot, unless they do something about these DEI hiring and all that stuff and all this equity hiring. I think the field is shot. I think they need to encourage men to get into the field more, so we can set some boundaries. I don't think it's going to happen for a long time, though. I'm thinking maybe even 15 years because you got to remove the old guard.
And the women are the ones hiring now, right?
The women are the one hiring.
So if you're not in a empathy thing like you were saying before. Cooked?
Yeah, I mean, there's a large possibility that here's the thing, there's a large possibility that if you aren't with the whole empathy gang, as I call it, if you aren't with the empathy gang, if you aren't with the letter gang and shit like that, and you're just trying to come and do your job and do the best that you can do at your job to try and help people, they don't want that shit. They want people that are gonna kumbaya with them and shit and take their word as law. You know what I mean? And take their feelings as law, regardless of the science, because science doesn't always matter. That's one of the most famous things they say now. Science doesn't always matter.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? So like, I think it's
that's what they say, right? That's what
people say it all
that's
the
what
time.
that world. That's what they're saying in that world now.
They don't. Science doesn't always apply. Science is not always applicable, and emotional intelligence is the two things that you hear the most.
So we got psychologists and psychiatrists using the term emotional intelligence now.
Absolutely, 100%. There's probably people in school right now that are their psychology or psychiatry professors using emotional intelligence over and over and over and over again. It's
so we're cooked, bro.
It's like that.
We'll just call it like it is, bro.
Shit.
Like we're cooked then.
Yeah, we are.
So do you predict that more people are going to be on SSRIs, medication to, like, we're just going to be even more medicated? Because it's terrible, bro.
Yeah,
I see kids, teenagers. Oh yeah, I'm on Ritalin. I'm on ADHD medication. What?
Yeah, they were putting kids on Ritalin way back in the 90s, but generally speaking, they would put the kids who were like real problem children, like who would go into BOCES and shit. They put those kids on Ritalin. Now they're putting kids on Ritalin, and the mechanism of action for basically the way the medicine works is really screwing up these kids.
Gotcha.
And there are studies that are trying to correlate that with like the school shootings and things of that nature.
School shootings weren't a thing before 1999.
Yeah,
they were not. Columbine kicked it off, and that was the beginning.
There was one girl in the United States who did it
before Columbine
in like the 70s.
In this, okay,
like a feminist.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
look it up.
Well, they're sick in the brain, so that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
Bruh. Yeah, that's a good point. No, school shootings didn't exist prior to Columbine, really. Maybe one time in the 70s, like you mentioned, but
yeah, I don't think that the field is going to have a good time. I think that they're going to continue, like the antidepressants. Men are getting on them more, but women love antidepressants.
Oh yeah, they dominate.
And it's placebo, a lot of it. You know,
Yeah.
because you're telling women, you're suggesting something. Women are suggestive creatures, malleable creatures. So I'm suggesting to you that this medicine should and or could work. But if it doesn't, you won't know the fucking difference anyway.
Yeah.
So take it and let's figure it out. And then you tell yourself, I feel better. But you know what really happens is they do that. They take the SSRIs or, it's SSNIs, SSRIs. They take the antidepressants in combination with, let's say, a Xanax, a benzodiazepine, to calm down the anxiety. So they never get enough anxiety up for their body to learn how to deal with stressful situations, right? So they start that young.
Not to mention they drink, they
Right.
party, they don't sleep,
Right.
they don't drink water. Bro, I don't know what it is. Women don't drink water.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
Yo,
And they talk about it too. They like flex it.
Yeah, like bitches don't drink water, bro. It's weird. It's
very
really
strange.
weird.
They don't have enough for for their bloodstream to operate properly.
Yeah. They live like shitty lives. Guys, I'd like all of you guys to shadow a regular female one day. They eat weird shit. Like they don't eat like protein. They don't eat healthy food. They eat like random stuff. Like they'll eat like 7 fries. Like, yeah, I'm good. I'm full now. And drink water.
Yeah.
And drink like a diet Dr. Pepsi or some shit. And then like they don't exercise. Bro, it's just crazy like how it is. Like anyway, whatever. I could talk shit about that all day.
Neuropsychology is nothing's going great. I mean, they're trying to make advances in certain things, but they're going to keep taking the antidepressants because, like I said, it's either you take.
So you think
them,
we're just going to continue to get even more medicated, right?
You just get more medicated and more medicated until it hits a breaking point, until it hits a climax and a plateau, and then you start to go back down. But as of right now, no, just give me more medication. What I was going to say is it's not usually the medication that's working. It's a combination of medication and therapy, but it's really the therapy teaching them to have better habits, and then they think it's the medication.
Gotcha.
Right. And so that's what happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, and Big Pharma's not going to stop. They're making a killing.
Yeah, no way.
They're making a fucking killing, dude. They're not going to say shit. So, all right, let's get into the last witness here, and then we'll close this thing out. George Kaplan. And guys, shout out to Chad. Thank you, bro, for coming, man. I asked you last minute to come with me, and you just came, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate everything, man.
Yeah, man.
Seriously.
And we're working on some big shit behind the scenes, by the way, as well, guys. So we'll see what happens. George Kaplan, 34 years old. This was the next witness that came out. What's this guy, number what, 12 or some shit now?
Yeah, 12 or 13.
So George Kaplan, one of them boys, he worked for Nickelodeon for 7 months prior as an executive assistant. Then he worked for Combs Enterprises, which is the holding company for all of Diddy's companies. Then he ended up becoming Diddy's assistant. He worked at 1710 Broadway. He worked as the executive assistant. This was in from 2013 to 2015. He reported to Christina Coram, KK, who ran Diddy's life. He basically reported Diddy's house in L.A., 200 Mapleton, Los Angeles, California. Carried his bags, made sure everything was taken care of. He worked there longer. He worked a lot of hours. He worked 80 to 100 hours a week. He made around 125K per year, right?
120, no, not per year, 125K in 15 months.
In 15 months,
and then he got paid out that same rate for the last 3 months of his employment.
Okay. He started work at 9:30 a.m. and that can fluctuate as to when he would go. The earliest he ever got off was 6:30 p.m., but he was also the latest he would get off at 6:30 a.m. Also worked those slave hours, as you guys know. Diddy was working on a mixtape at the time when he came in, so they were super busy. He also was familiar with the security. Diddy had homes in Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, Miami, and Los Angeles, New York City, New Jersey, New York, the Hamptons, and Miami. He discussed with Diddy. He basically got Diddy whatever he needed: food, drugs, iPads, whatever. Diddy threatened his job monthly. He claimed he only wanted the best. One story he gave was where Diddy told him to go to Whole Foods to get him a gallon of water. And he couldn't find this gallon of water, so he got him 2 half gallons of water and brought it. And Diddy got in his face and yelled at him and said that he would fire him, which is fucking nuts. Like, but you know, I'm not surprised, bro. When he told that story, I was like, you know what? This is how this nigga really is. That makes them do weird shit.
Yeah.
Remember making a band? He made them go all the way to Brooklyn for cheesecake.
Cheesecake, slap you over cheesecake. That shit was.
He crazy. Was really like that.
He's really about
like
that.
We thought like, okay, MTV comedic effect, make these niggas walk all the way to Brooklyn because they're in Manhattan. That's a long walk. You live in Brooklyn.
That's a long.
walk. Can you describe to them like how the fuck?
Yo, let me explain how fucking long.
Yeah, go ahead.
You gotta cross one of 2 bridges, either the Manhattan or the Brooklyn Bridge. Think about that. That's a bridge. Now the length of the bridge.
Because they were in Manhattan when that happened, right?
They were in Manhattan in the 1710 Broadway office. So they worked from 1710 all the way to Brooklyn.
So they filmed it from there.
Yeah.
Even back then.
So they went to Junior's for some cheesecake. Junior's is downtown Brooklyn. That means even after you get off the bridge, still got a little bit to go.
Wow.
So them niggas walked. That nigga wasn't playing.
How many miles was that?
I mean, city miles, so you want to say 2.8, but 2.8 city miles is a hike.
Yeah.
3 city miles is hike because
you're
going through different.
Because you're passing blocks, you're stopping at the thing.
Over water.
Traffic is coming.
It's wild. It's a long ass walk.
Damn. It took them hours, didn't it?
Because Long Island, so like 3 miles in Long Island, I can do 3 miles in Long Island in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, 3 miles out here could take me between 45 to an hour and 45, depending on traffic and who's in the street.
Yeah,
it's
because
crazy.
every block you have to stop. You can't keep walking, and that adds up over time.
And then like the terrain, like you got to cross a bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
So yeah, guys, long story short, that making a band shit was not a joke. That's how he really is. He be slaving niggas, bro. Yeah. Let's see here. So he set up hotel rooms for Diddy. First, he unpacked baby. He would pack the shit for him. Baby oil, Astroglide, speaker, candles, liquor. He purchased supplies with a corporate credit card. He would get told ahead of time where to go if Diddy needed him there, or he would fly a private jet with him. Diddy stayed at the hotel for 12 hours to multiple days. He went to a room after Diddy left. Interesting thing, this guy job that he had. So apparently, these hotels guys were selling pictures to magazines and other tabloids after a celebrity stayed at their hotel room.
Yeah.
So, and if there was anything embarrassing left there, they would take pictures of it. So this guy, what he would do, and I find it interesting, this is the emergence of social media now, 2013, right? This is when he started working for him. So this guy's job was, after every hotel stay, he would go in there and clean it up, chat. And remember, in the early 2000s, how they said that Diddy would get in trouble and they'd like charge him money for fucking shit up at the hotels. He would also make sure that, nothing was fucked up like that, so they wouldn't charge him money. But he said there would be baby oil all over the place and fucking Gatorades and shit.
Baby oil, Gatorade.
But that was his job, bro. Nigga would come in and clean up after a freak off.
Yeah. He said baby oil everywhere, too.
Yeah.
Gatorade and Astroglide.
Bruh.
And he said it would be in his bag, too.
Yeah. He had to work to protect Diddy's image. Because the image, he would protect the image because they would obviously sell the pictures. Dee contacted him frequently when they're at the hotels. It could be anything from getting him food, clothes, to drugs. He bought drugs for Diddy on 2 different occasions. One time he bought MDMA in Miami, gave the guy cash. Another time he bought him some drugs. It was pills. He didn't know what it was. This was in Bel Air. He went all the way to Hollywood, got the drugs, brought it back to Diddy, paid for it in cash. And that's where the testimony ended. So we're going to follow up the next day with this guy. He was walking around with the HSI detail, so I predict he has some shit to say. Remember, we're going to get in an elevator, and they said no.
I'm not going to hold you. That shit creeped me out a little bit. If you were next to me, I was like, who are these niggas?
Yeah.
They were like,
So guys, we're in courtroom number 20 and on the 24th floor. They're up filming in 20, not filming, but they're up in 26. We're in one of the overflows. So we click the thing to go down. The witness is in there and 2 HSI agents. We're about to get in an elevator. It's like, no, you guys can't get on. And that's when you saw him, right?
Yeah.
He looked weird, didn't he?
That posture, I was just going to say that posture, the raccoon eyes, like he was on drugs.
He had raccoon eyes, yeah.
Like he looked like he was on drugs for a couple, or like in preparation.
Yeah, he was on a bender.
Like he was on a bender, like, damn, I got to testify against Diddy. But I will say the one correlation I can draw between both of them, James, the other assistant, the first assistant, and him, is that there seems to be some loyalty to Diddy. Like they're giving facts out so they don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
But there seems to be some cohesiveness of loyalty.
Yeah. They're not like completely shitting on him too bad.
Because he, damn well he knew what drugs were in that thing.
Oh yeah, bro.
And he was like, I couldn't tell you. It was just a bag.
Yeah. I could. Yeah. He just like it's very obvious too that they got subpoenaed and they're forced to testify.
Right.
The other guy said, yeah, you guys, subpoenaed me twice. The other girl, Kerry Morgan, straight up said she didn't want to be there.
Right.
Like they subpoenaed her too. So a couple of these witnesses are actually there extremely reluctantly.
Yeah, and it's funny because Kerry Morgan actually, I think,
and Kerry Morgan, just so you guys know, that's Cassie's best friend. We didn't talk too much about her testimony because it was kind of boring. Like basically, she confirmed a lot of the things that they went on trips, went to Burning Man. Her and Diddy were friends. Didn't she send a long ass text to Diddy?
She sent a long ass poem to Diddy. Yeah, she sent a long.
Can you talk about that? Because I didn't get a chance to talk about that.
So what happened was Diddy wanted to get Cassie something for her birthday. He wanted what's her name again?
Cassie or Kerry Morgan?
Kerry Morgan. He wanted Kerry.
The white girl.
The white girl.
She a thought, bro, too.
She is. She looks
obvious.
like one. Yeah, obvious thought.
Partying in New York City in the early 2000s, cooked.
Yeah, super thought. Wouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But she
wrote a poem?
Yeah, she wrote a poem to Diddy.
Yep.
To help him with Cassie's birthday preparations, essentially.
Okay.
But she was writing an affirmation poem to Diddy. So it was weird because he wanted help with with Cassie's birthday stuff.
Yep.
Then it was a blank text. She clarified the defense saying that the text was blank. And then after that, there was an affirmation poem. And she was, they used that to lead him and say, well, you're sending him affirmation words, And then she said, yeah, he was just going through stuff and she was trying to help him. And then they asked, do you know this girl? Then they brought up Cassie's friend, Cassie's other close friend who used to give her drugs and do drugs with her. They brought her up a couple of times and they got her to say.
Which girl?
Forgot her name exactly. She was the one on the right side of the picture. It's a picture of Cassie, Kerry, and then the girl. She was there twice. She went to Burning Man with them. She was upstate in the upstate photo. She was there too. When they were all together, when they were together with the dudes.
A white girl?
No, she was like
Asian?
Light-skinned Asian looking.
Buana?
Yeah, that one. Is that her?
Yeah, but she didn't testify.
No, she didn't testify.
They talked about her. That's the bitch that Diddy held over the balcony.
Yeah. They were saying that she did a lot of drugs too.
And Yeah, that's the Asian girl that he held over the balcony, Bona.
And also the big thing, well, I don't know, you might have spoken about it, is, with the $30,000.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, guys, the main testimony that you need to know for Kerry, thank you for saying that, Chad.
Of course.
Basically, this is your takeaway. Diddy shows up at the house. He has a key for Cassie's house in L.A. He shows up, opens the door. Cassie sees him come in. She locks herself in the bathroom. Diddy's irate over some shit. He hits Kerry Morgan with, sorry guys, there's like a
wooden hanger.
He hits her with a wooden hanger. She gets a concussion from it, apparently. That nigga must have hit her hard, bro.
Well, she said he came around, grabbed her throat.
Yes.
Somehow. And then while grabbing her throat, threw a wooden hanger as she was running away.
Something like that. And then hits her in the head. I don't know what the fuck happened. Weird. This nigga, because she said he flung it like a boomerang.
Yeah.
And where did he get the wooden hanger?
Shit.
Of all, whatever. So, anyway, guys, I know it sounds fucking far-fetched. I'm just telling y'all niggas what she said. He comes in, going crazy. Cassie locks herself in the bathroom. He grabs her by the neck and is kind of choking her. Then he hits her in the head with a wooden hanger. She gets a concussion. So she goes and hires a lawyer, tells the lawyer that she wants to sue. A month later, Cassie meets up with her at a pizza shop and slides her an NDA and says, hey, sign this NDA, we'll give you 30, they're going to give you 30,000. What's her name? Takes the money. To her defense, what? This is 2008?
Yeah. She was going
so this is like, like, oh wait, was it?
This is 2013, I think, or something like that.
Oh wait, no, it's 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
2018, yeah, sorry. And then that's why they're not friends anymore, because Kerry felt like Cassie didn't have her back.
Yeah.
But she got her 30K, which is the equivalent today, what, 40,000 now?
Yeah, she got her the 30K. The problem with that was, I think that the problem that she had with it was that Cassie basically said to her, in woman speak, as you.
You're being dramatic. You're being dramatic about this.
Yes, you're being dramatic. Like,
yeah.
That she was saying that. That's what she didn't like about it. Like, she said that, and then she didn't believe her, and then she felt like she did the due diligence and not calling the cops on Diddy, and Cassie came up to her like, yo, yeah, you're exaggerating this, bro. Take this 30K, get the fuck out of my face.
Basically. That's really what it was. And she slid her the NDA too, and they met at a pizza shop.
At a pizza shop in the
No lawyers, no nothing, just them.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, yeah. So that's the main thing you guys need to know about the Kerry Morgan shit. A lot of it was historical stuff. I forgot about the poem. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to talk about? I think the most important thing was talking about the red pill shit about this psychiatrist coming in that's clearly a fucking feminist.
100%.
And where we're going as a nation when it comes to criminal law and criminal procedure and witnesses. And guys, we're getting to a point now where any type of punitive behavior towards your woman is going to be looked at as abuse. That's where we're going. That's where I see us.
I agree. And think about it. They literally reused the same woman who made the other woman lose one of the biggest cases ever. The Amber Heard case.
Yes.
They
So
have enough gall, to be like, we'll just reuse her because her testimony is important.
Man, I wish y'all could have heard the testimony, but it's federal court, so y'all can't hear. So we have to come in and report it for you guys. But yeah, bro, that's it, really, man.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
That summarizes it.
There was nothing that I think was that was extremely crazy about it. You know what I mean? There was some stuff, today, outside of what you touched upon, there wasn't really anything crazy. And then the other stuff, for continuity's sake, there was, like the guy James, the personal assistant. He also, that story that he told that they are trying to say wasn't real. I think that's the only other thing, because he told a story about riding around with D-Rock and Diddy with 3 handguns on Diddy's lap.
Oh, yeah.
And Diddy was like, basically, Diddy let this nigga know in so many words, you about to pull up on these niggas. You got to shoot something.
On Suge Knight.
On Suge Knight.
Yesterday, yeah.
And they're trying to say that story's fake. There's no way, because they were like, didn't you leave D-Rock? You didn't leave D-Rock by himself at the McDonald's or wherever the fuck they were. He was like, I'm telling you, dog, I didn't leave D-Rock.
Yeah.
Because why would I leave him, the security dude? So there was that. But then that was it.
All right, I'll read some chats here. So super chats. We got only right wing in Cali. Hey, Myron, I'm 19 years old. Just got approved for my second credit card. I have 767 credit score. Any advice how to stay on track or what else I could do? Increase your credit limit. Keep it below 30%. You'll be straight. Make 100% on time payments. Mr. TT Kaka says, if he said he 39 on Wi-Fi, that means 39 wireless and his default. You need to have a wired connection to live stream L producer. Bro, that has nothing to do with Chad though. Like this place comes like that.
Yeah, and I also suggested the Ethernet thing.
Yeah, Axe Studio just doesn't have Ethernet internet, bro. Myron, love the show. Great insight and information on this case. Would you ever consider doing another Avengers panel with Diddy, the Diddler, the OG OJ Simpson, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and Ghislaine Maxwell? Cable to go work. All right, nigga. Dr. B84, psychiatry is 4 years of residency training after med school. They can prescribe antidepressant, anti-anxiety, and antipsychotic medications, name a few. They're also trained to do psychotherapy. Okay, that's Dr. B84 is one of the docs that watch the show. Thank you. So yeah, they're actually doctors. Anti-Semcat goes, Charlie Kirk just got cucked. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Nikhil says, Chad, if you actually went to Harvard, what house were you in, and what was your go-to late-night food spot in the square?
So I actually started off in Kennedy School. I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to give out too much stuff. And also, my favorite thing in the coop, well, I used to go to the coop and hang out at the coop, and then I never really ate in the food square. I always left campus to go eat because there was a lot of, there's a couple of spots there. And it's the cafeteria, but I didn't really stick around there. I stuck around the river, and then I would go and leave to go get my food simply because, I'm not even on camera.
Yeah. And the Kennedy School, can you describe,
Kennedy, well, it's let's just say it's the politics school.
The political science school, right?
Yeah, they call it public policy.
Okay.
Yeah. I never really ate on campus because I never found anything on campus too like delicious. And when I was there, I was always getting lost. So yeah,
it's a fairly big campus for only 5,000 students, bro.
Yeah, it's a huge campus. Like there's this. I used to use the big. I think it's a bank. There's like a big bank with like a clock on it. I used to use that to orient myself because if you orient yourself across directly from the clock, that's where the buses start.
Yeah. And you got your grad degree from there.
Yeah, my grad. I didn't go to undergrad.
Yeah, he didn't go to undergrad at Harvard, guys. He got his you got your master's there, right?
Yeah, my master's.
You got his master's at Harvard.
Didn't go to undergrad there, bro. Nice try though.
Yeah. I don't know what it is that they're. Well, there you go. Does that answer your question, Nikhil?
It's because I'm black.
Yeah, probably. Niggas is like, no way this nigga went to Harvard. Some nigga in the chat said he got a coach hat on. No way this nigga went to Harvard.
Bro.
Oh, man.
That's great.
All right. Psych testimony should have been more broad and ambiguous. Her coming to me after the case started allowed her to tailor her testimony to Diddy and also shows more tact on her and the prosecution's behalf. Negates objectivity. Absolutely. Good shit. You're catching it, TR. Nikhil says, Chad, if you actually went to Harvard, what house were you in and what was your... Okay, we mentioned that already. Manny Wilson says, Bolshevik Gains. I've been watching your videos for a month now. I got a question for you. Will you ever have a Gypsy Crusader in Fresh and Fit after hours or just interview him? I don't think he would come on, bro. A lot of these guys are separatists, and and that's fine. I defend their right to be separatists, but they don't want to work with colored people, which is fine. It is what it is, man. I put in this question yesterday, but left early. But I like Gypsy Crusader. All those guys are funny as fuck, to be honest with y'all. Issy Wealthy says, I put in this question yesterday, but left early. What do you think about Diddy's legal team reaching out to Trump for a pardon? I did answer it. He's not gonna get it. No way. I mean, what do you think about that, bro? Diddy's team reaching out for a pardon?
I think that's absolutely fucking hilarious, but there's absolutely.
I mean, it's worth a shot.
Everything's worth a shot.
Well, he ain't gonna get it.
I think they were trying to play off the fact that Trump just came off cases that people would think were similar in nature, but they're not similar in nature at all.
Yeah.
It worth the shot, but we'll see. I think if this case continues to play out like this,
because Diddy's a lifelong Democrat, bro.
He is, but if the court of public opinion says that Diddy should have gotten off, then maybe Trump will consider it, and then that'll be a good political play.
Trump is a populist, bro. So enough people let's say Diddy gets convicted, and enough people are like, this is bullshit, blah, 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 like they did with the January 6ers. Who knows? But I'll tell you this, he ain't going to pardon him. You know when he'll pardon him? End of his term. Pardoning is, guys, remember, presidents pardon at the end of their term because it's very unfavorable. The only reason Trump pardoned the J6ers in the beginning is to make a statement. But 9 out of 10 times, pardons are always done at the end of the term. So if he's going to pardon Diddy, I guarantee y'all he'll pardon him at the end if he does it. Yo, can you hit on the Rumble Studio, click donations on the middle? I don't know if you see it. Or chat. Is there anything there? I know Rumble was all fucked up anyway.
I don't see donations. I see.
If it's blank, that's fine because they couldn't even watch on Rumble anyway. None? Okay, yeah. It's because the Rumble didn't work the whole time. So, all right, cool, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I'm gonna actually go into YouTube right now and like clean this thing up for you guys where there was lag and shit like that. Yo, Chad, where can the people find you, bro?
Man, I don't really, I'm not.
I know you're not a social media guy, but I'm Instagram, whatever.
I'm not like that. Yeah, so I mean, on Instagram.
You know what? There's probably guys that want to go to Harvard. I'll be honest with you, or want to go to the Ivies.
So
they might hit you up for that.
Just the guy who talks is my Instagram. That's literally what it is. Just the guy who talks.
Just the guy who talks.
Just the guy who talks. That's all I am. And then
And if you guys say you found him through Fresh and Fit, like he'll respond to your DM probably.
Yeah, of course. And then on YouTube, I don't have content like that right now. Like that. I deal with the tech side of stuff. And if I decide to come over to this side, we'll see.
Cool. Yeah. Very knowledgeable guys. If you want to get into an Ivy League school, he has connections and stuff like that. I tell you guys all the time, college is a scam, but I've always told you guys, if you can get into an Ivy League school, absolutely take that opportunity because the alumni network and the connections is what makes everything.
Yeah, because for instance, let's use a great example of the chat, right? Let's say there's 3 to 5 people, say even 10 people who are upset or you didn't go to Harvard or blah, 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 blah. You can say that, but my credentials don't say that. So I don't care because I can get a better job than you can off the fact that I just visited to touch the ground. You know what I mean? You can't even, you gotta. So it's very useful. I agree with Myron. Like, I think college is kind of a waste now. Education system is kind of a waste, but Ivy League schools outside of Yale, because you don't want to die because the campus is ghetto as hell. Very useful. Very useful.
Princeton has a nice campus, bro.
Yeah, Princeton
I ain't gonna lie.
does.
Princeton is fucking nice.
I mean, you're just paying for validity, man. You could be the smartest guy on planet Earth. You still need a piece of paper sometimes.
They have a super nice boathouse too.
Princeton. See, I like Harvard. I mean, I never say go Crimson because Harvard sucks, but like,
no, y'all got a good rowing team, bro.
Yeah, I very good attention to the rowing team.
Yeah, but the other sports suck though.
Yeah, they're trash.
Yeah, everything else is trash.
The biggest thing out of there was Jeremy Lin, for me.
Jeremy Lin did go to Harvard.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Yo, Chad, thank you so much for coming out, bro, and helping out with the tech stuff, running the cameras,
thank you, and
giving us your background on psychology and kind of giving us another perspective. Because sometimes it can be an echo chamber, and it's good to bring someone that's kind of like an expert in that field, because we've always suspected that psychology is being dominated by women, and like to have you come and like kind of confirm it, like, yeah, bro, it's 80-20 right now on the psychology side. Psychiatry is like 70-30.